Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this video that's going to be my yearly eyeshadow palette collection. I'm going to go through each and every eyeshadow palette that I have in my collections, and it's hundreds. It is hundreds of eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to show you every palette and I'm going to let you know how I feel about it and whether or not I'm decluttering it. This is the fourth part of my yearly declutter series, and I have one more left, which is going to be in about a week, and we're going to do all of my lip products, and that's usually a really long one, a really juicy one as well. If you wanted to see any of my other declutter episodes of this year, I will leave my full declutter playlist down below. That's also going to include all of the other years that I've done declutters. If you wanted to keep up with my collection, maybe see what I decluttered last year, because I tend to do this declutter series every year, just going through everything and just showing you all of it and just showing you what I'm keeping and what I am decluttering. And just some initial information before we get into the actual declutter part. Yes, I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes. I am fully aware that nobody needs this much eyeshadow palettes. I'm not doing this so that you can keep up with me. I try all of it so that I can help you find the one for you. And in this collection, I of course get rid of some stuff that either makes no sense in my collection anymore. Maybe I have dupes, maybe it's actually old, maybe nobody's asking for like comparison of that palette, or maybe it's stuff that I actually just don't like. If it is unused, I just give it away in giveaways to people like you, my followers, or I donate it to charity. And if it's like slightly used and it's not old, I give it away to friends and neighbors. And if it's old makeup, nobody deserves old makeup, I'll just throw it away. But no, I do not send out any of my used makeup to my subscribers. I hope you understand. Please don't ask for it in my comments. But let's jump in, because I have a sneaking suspicion that this is a very long video. I'm just giving you a fair warning. We have quite a few things to go through, so this will take a while. And I'm gonna start with some of my favorite brands that I have here that I probably will not be decluttering a lot from. So right now on the table I have Kaleidos, Udin Eye, Unearthly Cosmetics, and Glamlight. And I also have over at the side here that you can't see yet, I have Cosmic Beauty, former Cosmic brushes. So we are gonna start with these. And like I said, I don't foresee myself decluttering a lot of these palettes, but there will for sure be a lot of decluttering further on. Let's see if we can get some space here in between. Let's actually start with these. These are the quads that came out from Unearthly Cosmetics last Halloween. I did not use these. I never had the time to get around to use them. They're absolutely beautiful. Like, look at that. That is stunning. Absolutely stunning. So what look at that. It is so beautiful, but they're not available anymore. I'm actually going to put these in my giveaway pile. I've never used them. I've never touched them. They are stunning. It's just hard sometimes when things come and go quickly, sell out and don't come back. So I'm going to give this one away. It's going in my declutter pile. Like I probably said in the beginning, I am having a bunch of giveaways. So someone is going to be getting these. This is one that we are keeping. This is from this year. This is the Unearthly Cosmetics Don't Be Jelly palette. Super stunning palette with a couple of multi-chromes. Absolutely love this palette. One of the best palettes from the brand. I think this is very, very stunning. Definitely keeping this one. This is the In the Dark that came out, I think, last year. This is the reformulation of the palette. Also very stunning. We will be keeping that one. This is the Daily Grind palette. I really like the colors that are in here. I think this is super, super pretty. So I will be keeping this palette as well. I especially love the shimmers that go together with this palette. I wish this palette had something that was just a smidgen more like darker than what it has. But again, it's not that hard for me to reach into something else. This is my besties Heather Austin's collab with Unearthly Cosmetics. It came out this year. This is the Resurgence palette. Such a beautiful palette with some multichromes, some duochromes, mattes, shimmers. Really, really pretty. Definitely keeping this one. And this is the Dead of Night palette. Look at that. Look at that. I should probably be showing you a little bit better. Look at how beautiful that is. Absolutely stunning. So yeah, there are definitely some palettes from Unearthly that are staying for sure. These are gorgeous. We also have the Lore palette. This is the reformulation of Lore. Such a cool, versatile, such a good color story. This really will speak to anyone who loves neutrals, anyone who loves colors. There are 5 duochromes and 4 mattes. Really gorgeous palette. I've said so many times that if you wanted to try out the brand, I feel like this is a good way to start. But here is the first palette that I'm actually going to be decluttering, and this is the Bunnies palette. This color story isn't my favorite. It is a little bit too dark to be pastels on me, and it's a little bit too light to be, honestly, anything like on its own for me. I feel like all of the shimmers are darker than mattes. It's not the way I like to do my makeup personally, so I'm actually going to declutter it, not because of quality but because of color stories. I also have the original Fall Magic palette here. We're gonna get to the reformulated one in a bit. I think I'm gonna declutter mine. I love this one, but I have the reformulated one, which isn't the exact same color story, but since this one isn't available anymore, I'm gonna get rid of it. This is also an old one from when they used to be Alien Cosmetics. This is Strawberry Milkshake. Really beautiful color story, but I think I'm gonna get rid of it because I have the old version. Oh, now I'm like, is this the reformulated one? See, this is the problem. This might be the reformulated one. Or is this the reformulated one? Either way, I'm gonna keep this one because it's smaller. Now I'm wondering, was this the reformulated one? I have no idea, but I'm gonna get rid of that one. We also have Witching Hour. This color story is really fun, but I'm actually gonna get rid of this one too. I don't think that one is available anymore. Do really like the color story though. I would love to see this color story come back in updated formula. And this one was the limited edition palette for, I want to say Valentine's Day. I actually really like this color story. I think it's a really nice neutral palette. I kind of wish that they would bring this one back. I think I'm going to keep this one. I thought this was a great palette. They should bring that one back. This is this the new one? Wait. Is this the new one or is this the old one? So this is the old one and this is the new one, right? Right. Why am I so confused? No, this is the new one because this one has the new logo. Oh my gosh, I am so confused. I'm so confused. This is the All I Ever Wanted Volume 2. This is a beautiful all shimmer palette. I don't do all shimmer palettes, and even though there are some colors in here that are truly extraordinary, I just do not do all shimmer palettes. I think I'm gonna get rid of it. This is Leather and Lace. This is a really nice palette. Am I gonna keep this one? And this is the Sleepover palette. Oh, this one is so pretty though. I'm wondering which ones are staying and which ones are not, because these are with the old logo. I'm a little bit, I wonder. This is also an all shimmer palette. This is the All I Ever Wanted one. I think I'm gonna keep these two and see if maybe she restocks those. This is the Dead of Night before with the bigger pans. This is the Hauntingly Glamorous, the collaboration that she did, and I think it's with Sydney Nicole. A really stunning color story, but I don't think it's available. And then we have the Not Normal. This color story is gorgeous. We're keeping that one. And we have the, I think I'm gonna get rid of this one, the Capricorn palette. Oh, this has to be the new one. See, this is what I was thinking. Some of these have already been reformulated. So we're keeping the new one. This is why I was thinking, I'm like, which ones have been reformulated versus not? Why did I keep all of these like reformulated ones as well? It makes no sense. Okay, let me actually get rid of this pile. This was a big pile. Huh, look at me, I'm doing great. So we have a couple of more of the Unearthly left over here. So this is the So Strange palette. This was the limited edition cover. I have not been reaching for this palette a lot. I think that this has a color story that's fun, but I don't reach for it a lot. I'm actually getting rid of this one. This is the Vitality palette. This is a palette that the brand has said that they are gonna fix this one in the new packaging and change a couple of the colors. This is one of my favorite rainbow palettes in my collection. I'm gonna keep this one so that I can compare it to the new version when it comes out, because I love this one, but just know that this one is coming back soon. Then we have the Get Groovy palette that came out. This is another rainbow palette that came out this summer. I'm gonna hold on to this one too. And here is the Fall Magic, the reformulated one. It's beautiful. I love this one. Love this one. And oh, then we have the Devour palette that came out for this. Oh, look at that. Oh my, it's so pretty. That came out for this Halloween. I think they sell this palette as only a palette as well. And the Sorcerer's Smoke, which is basically the neutral palette from the brand. Really, really nice palette as well. So I think the one I'll be getting rid of here is the So Strange, and I will be keeping these other ones, the newer ones. Next brand that we are gonna dive into is Kaleidos. I have a bunch of their Futurism palettes here. I am fairly sure that they are getting rid of all of these, and I'm kind of wondering if I should too. This is the Lunar Lavender one. I also have the Electro Turquoise. I'm just thinking, like, I have not reached for these palettes for a really long time. They have literally discontinued them. Oh, these are so good though. But they've literally discontinued them, and I'm just like, I don't know. This one was so fun. And I know a lot of people love this one, the green one that's called Sci-Fi Green. It's like this murky green color story. I really love this one that was called Astro Pink. Such a beautiful one. And then we have the, I think it's Sashimi City, more neutral one. This isn't where my love for Kaleidos started. It isn't. There's another palette, and it makes me sad that like these are apparently like gone and not coming back. It makes me sad, but at the same time I'm like, these are taking up space in my collection. Should I just get rid of them? I kind of feel like I should. They're no longer available. They are beautiful, but like they're obviously not coming back. It's obviously not the direction the brand wants to go in anymore. So I actually think I will be just getting rid of them. It just makes me sad to have them in my collection, knowing that they're never coming back and it's just pointless. So this is what the brand is doing now. They're doing quads. This is a black quad. This is a brown quad. Then they have another brown quad, and they have a purple quad. This one is really, really pretty. I think I am gonna save... I'm not making it easy, are they? Are they like more quads? I feel like there should be more quads. Wait, let me look for those. There should be 2 more quads. Here we are. These are the newer ones. They're all a little similar. Let's not pretend that they're all not a little similar. Not dupes, but like close enough so that you wonder if they were all really needed. This is where we're at. I don't know about you, but over in this corner, and also like they're a little similar, okay? They're a little similar. I think I'm gonna keep this one, and I'm gonna keep this one. There we go. The rest, they don't get to come. You don't get to sit with us. Then of course we have this palette. I don't know if they're bringing back Flower Punk. I think there might be a bigger chance that they're bringing back Flower Punk, so I think I'm gonna save this one. And of course we have the palette that I did together with Kaleidos. This is the Club Nebula with me, Angelica Nyqvist. This is the palette that we did, and I mean, obviously I'm very proud of this palette. I love this palette. I put a lot of love into this palette, and even though I personally think that my color stories that I have done with Udin Eye, honestly, I like them better than this. I know that some people do not agree, but it's a beautiful palette. There's like no way I'm getting rid of it. And then we have the Escape Pod. Same here. This is a stunning palette. I really want to keep it. I think it's beautiful. Like, this is a stunning, colorful palette. And then the palette that started it all, the palette that they had to discontinue because they weren't able to source these pigments anymore. And this is the Deep Sea Luster palette. Is it time for me to get rid of this one? Or should I keep it because? Because this is really the memories. You know what? I'll keep it for the memories. Let's do a little Cosmic Brushes. They have 5 palettes. And I do have all 5 of them, although I do think that this one that is called the Royal Rose palette, which is their first palette, I don't think they are restocking this anymore. So this one might be discontinued, but I might hold on to this one just because it's still a fairly new brand in the grand scheme of things. It's newer, at least newer popular. So I want to keep this one and see, who knows, maybe it will come back. Maybe they will do something similar in the future and we can compare it. I don't like collecting for the sake of collecting, but sometimes it does make sense. So the second palette that they came up with was the Serenity palette. This is the one that I ranked as the best palette of last year. Best palette of 2022 was the Serenity palette by Cosmic Beauty. It is a beautiful palette. I absolutely love this one. Some of these brands I do have affiliate codes with, and I will leave those linked down below in case you are interested, if you want to save some money off. This isn't me like doing a ranking or anything, but remember, you can always get some money off using somebody's code. You don't have to use mine, but use somebody's code and get some money off. This is a beautiful palette. It's absolutely stunning. And after that, they came out with the Muse palette. Also a beautiful palette, a little bit more on the grungy side. I like something that's a little bit more poppy, and I also like that the other one had pastels, but I know for a lot of people this is their favorite. And then they came out with Delicious Delights, which has even more pastels and brights. Super beautiful palette, and this is also where they did their first multi-chrome. You can see that green to red. Yeah, that's their first multi-chrome that they did. I really enjoyed this palette. And then they did launch this one before they launched the Winter Wonderland. This is the Gothic palette. It's a smaller palette. It's like a moody, like Victorian Gothic purple kind of a history. Really beautiful. This one has more shimmers if that's something you're interested in. And Winter Wonderland, which is their newest one, is the one that has the most shimmers, but this is a blue green mint palette. If you don't like those colors, you're not gonna like this palette. Quality is beautiful though, and as you can see, this one also has 2 multi-chromes, a purple, blue to green, and a like peach to green to blue. Really, really pretty palettes. Overall, one of my favorite brands that I have discovered. I think they make amazing products, and I'm keeping all of them. Let's do some Udin Eye then, because I have quite a few things from Udin Eye. I have some of the smaller palettes here. These two, of course, being the 6-pan palette, or like 5-pan but 6 colors that they've coming out with. This is the Verdandi one, and this is the Urd one. My Urd actually has a broken mirror, which is not ideal. I love the Urd one though. I kind of want to keep it, even though I probably can. This is the thing. I can recreate this with other, not exactly though, because this is so beautiful. It's like a pastel pistachio ice cream with some shimmer in it. It's so good. Okay, I'm keeping Urd because I love Urd. Urd is great. Urd gets to stay, but I'm gonna get rid of Verdandi. It's a beautiful palette, but honestly, I haven't reached for it in a bit, and nobody's like really looking for any comparisons, so we're gonna get rid of it. This is the collaborations that they did with 3 different ladies this, I want to say springtime. So it is with Amanda from Makeup Just for Fun, it is with Laura May Beauty, and it is with Batty Bean. And this is the Flora Story palette. Absolutely stunning. I don't know if these are available as I'm filming this. I'm filming this after Black Friday, or not true. You're seeing this after Black Friday, and I know some of these were a little bit on a discount, so some things might be selling out and not coming back. I really, really like these palettes. I think they're really pretty. I will be keeping all 3 of these. I think they're beautiful. And I also really like holding on to collabs of people that I like actually know in real life. Like I know these 3 girls, they're amazing people, and these palettes are really good. Let's dive into some more Udin Eye. This one is the Elva 2 palette. I think it's time for this one to go. This one has the round pans before they started doing the square pans that they actually did with my first palette that we did with them. They started doing the square pans because I didn't want the rectangular pans, so they did square pans to make me happy. And I was very happy. So this one is an older palette. It has 2 pressed glitters. I do like the looks that I do with this one, but I think it's time for it to be declutters. Oh, I do have the Norns one here. This is the old Norns, but I do have the new Norns one here as well, which is even better quality, and it is in the square pans. So actually, let me go and find that one. Oh, this is the first collab palette that I did with Udin Eye, and this is a copy that I have that is untouched. So it had the sleeve and the inside, Mia's, the goddess Hela, and this one is an untouched copy. I am really proud of this color story. Absolutely love it. Unfortunately, this one is discontinued, but of course I'm keeping this one for me. These are the first collabs that they did. They did one with Tina from the Fancy Face. This is the Hummingbird palette. Again, I love holding on to collab palettes. This is a really bright and fun one, so we're keeping that one. This is with Judy. This is the Red Dragon palette. Again, a little bit more of a neutral palette with a pop of some olivey greens. And then the one with Annette. This is the Giant Wolves. It has a little bit more of a blue purple color story. Love colors like these. Obviously, I'm gonna keep these as well. They did do a round 2 of the Freya palettes. This one, I think I'm gonna get rid of this one. I don't mind the quality of this one, but it's not my favorite color story. It doesn't go deep enough. So let's get rid of that one. And then we have this one. I think this is my favorite though. The cat with the golden carriage. I really like this color story. So I think I'm gonna keep this one. And I might get rid of this double-sided palette. I really like this color story though. I hope they do something like this again. Like the burgundy. And then we have the green. This is a nice one though. But no, I'm keeping one of them. And then we have a couple of the newer ones here. Let me see if I can just rearrange this a little bit. Oh, in this I actually also have some of my singles from Udin Eye. I don't use these a lot because I don't use singles a lot, but I think these are really fun. But again, I don't reach for singles a lot. And I will say my favorite multi-chrome single formula is still the Cleonad ones. I think those are amazing. So this is the collab that we did this year. And as I'm filming this, we still have a couple of these left. This is the Lil Ghost palette. This is Hella, but she's doing a round of Halloween. And this is the blue and purple color story. This is not untouched, as you can see. This has been very much dug into, but yeah, I really, really love this palette. I think it's super fun. There's a lot of really fun glittery textures in here without, of course, being pressed glitters. I really am super proud about this color story. And the second palette we did, because we did 2, is the Trick or Treat palette. And this one has a more warmer, like fall time color story with this like blue going to forest green, going to, I don't know if it's showing, you can see a little here, like a blue going to forest green, going to lime green, multi-chrome. And there's some neutrals at top as well. I'm really proud of these color stories. I'm very happy about them. Oh, here is mine that I've been digging into. Looks a little bit more. But yeah, these are the 3 Hella palettes. 2 of them, as I'm filming this, are still available. One of them is discontinued. This is Solmåne 2. This is one of my favorite palettes from the brand. It is like a muted rainbow. I think it's absolutely stunning. Definitely keeping it. This collection came out this summer. It is the Stone and Rock and the Jewels and Gem palette. These are like a halfway colorful, halfway neutral palette. It's like a little bit of a twist to neutrals because it is a little bit more poppy. It has some more color to it. There's a lot of contrast. I really love it. Mine is favorite is the Stone and Rock, but the Jewel and Gem is a little bit more blue, burgundy, mauve. I think this is really pretty and fun, and I like the different textures that they put in. And then of course they launched their holiday collection, and they did re-release the Christmas palettes. As I'm filming this, these are pretty low on stock, and I don't think they will stock these, but these are the Merry Christmas palette. This is the one from last year because they did release the exact same as last year. It is like green and red and yeah, a little Christmassy. And then the Christmas Eve palette. A little bit more blue purple muted with some olives and some like this like mustardy corner down here. And then the new palettes are the Hey Reindeer palette. Almost like a little, I don't know what to call it, like candy floss, but make it wintry. Really nice, and I love the pop of like the little orangey pink down here. I think there's a lot of fun things that can be done with that. And then the Snow Dream palette with the snowman, and there is a holographic shadow here as well. It's a little flaky, but if you use a finger or spray or brush, you get this beautiful holographic shimmer on your lids. This I think is my favorite of the 2 new ones, or is it? I don't know, but I just really love this one. The foamy light green pastel, absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I am keeping all of those as well. I think the ones from Udin Eye that I'm decluttering are some other ones. Let me see if I can find that palette that I was talking about, the newer version of the Norns, so I can show you. Okay, I found it. So this is the old one and this is the new one. And here you can see that they have updated it with the square pans. And I also think that they have updated the quality to the new quality that is, this one was good, but this one is great. So I really think they did a good job updating this one. And I will of course be keeping the new one and I will be decluttering the old one. Okay, next we have some Glamlight and I hope I have all of my Glamlight here. I might be missing some of my Halloween ones, so we'll get those in a little bit. But let's start with two of my favorite palettes from Glamlight. This is the Scooby-Doo palette that they came out with first. This is the Creeps and Crawls. It is this, look at this, like dark and yummy. I need something lighter to mix this with, but I think it's a fun color story. And this one is the Rutro Raggy. This color story is beautiful. The blue and the green and the shimmers. Absolutely love these ones. Definitely holding on to them. Or maybe they are here because here's the Friday the 13th palette. The Camp Crystal Lake. And this one has a really fun, grungy, darker color story that I really did enjoy. I think this one is my favorite of the horror movie palettes. So we are keeping that one. It's a new one. I think I will be getting rid of the big Scooby-Doo palette. I don't hate the color story, but I don't like the packaging and the color story is not unique enough for me to keep it. So I think that I will be getting rid of that one. One palette that I really like that's a little unexpected is the Barbie Dream Summer palette. This is a really nice palette. Great quality, beautiful shimmers, beautiful mattes. I wish there was some lighter shades in here, but honestly, this palette is pretty great. And another thing that's great is the Frosted Flakes palette. This is a great color story. I love how this one is. The blue and the orange. This is my jam. I really like this one. Quality is amazing. We are keeping that one. I have the ice cream palette. I feel like a lot of people... This is like... I don't want to say old school Glamlight because it makes it sound they've been around for forever. But this is before they started doing a lot of collabs. This is their like... almost pastel palette. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this one. Is that bad to say? I like the newer color stories from Glamlight more. I actually think I'm getting rid of that one. This is the Michaela Pot 2 10 pan palette. This is a really nice color story. It really is. I think I will be keeping this one. Ooh, and I think I will be keeping the bigger second palette that she did. This color story is really cool. I think that she made a lot of really great things down here, especially this blue row is amazing. But I think I will be getting rid of the first palette that she did, the first part, because this one, I think the color story is okay, but I don't think the quality is as good as Glamlight usually is. So I'm gonna get rid of that one, and we're saving this one. Oh, and this one. Is this my favorite Glamlight palette? No, I think the... I think the original Scooby-Doo palettes are probably my favorites. This might be my number 2, and maybe the Frosted Flakes palette is number 3. But I usually don't love big palettes, but I really like this color story. It is a bright, fun, and funky rainbow. It has dark shades, light shades, duochromes, shimmers, mattes, gradients, unexpected pops. Really enjoyed this one. This is actually sold out on the website right now, so I cannot be the only one who's really enjoying this one. That's all I'm trying to say. This is the Strawberry Shortcake Berrylicious palette. I really like the formula of this one. I think it is a beautiful palette. I'm going to hold on to this one a little bit longer and see if they're keeping this collection around, because I really did enjoy this. And I think that this is probably one of the better like shimmer formulas that they've had in palettes, or at least that's when they really started doing great shimmer formulas. Not that they didn't have great shimmer formulas before, but like they really started to excel. English, not my thing. They did these palettes that were like cocktail palettes. Do I want to keep these? I have the margarita one. This has some really fun colors. And then they did the wine one. I would like them to do palettes like this. There are like non-branded palettes, but like better packaging with the same kind of a soft touch, nice thought up packaging. I do like that one. And then the Dirty Martini one. My favorite is actually the purple one. But would I use this one over the purples that I did myself with Udin Eye? You know what? I think I'm gonna get rid of these. Let me go find those Halloween palettes because they're looming around here. I am trying to do my very best to put this like according to brand. This is the Ghost Face collection. This is pretty new, so I'm gonna keep this in my collection a bit longer, but I might miss some, and at the end we're gonna be like, oh, look at this palette. Oh, look at this. There's gonna be some random, ooh, there's gonna be some random stragglers at the end. We both know that. This is the Chucky one. I thought this one was really good too. It just missed like maybe one lighter matte in here, but I'm gonna save those as well. Okay, here's batch number 2, but like I said, we're bound to have some stragglers, so I found the Glamlight Hershey Milk Chocolate palette that came out this year. It's kind of new, and I actually really like the quality of this one, so I'm gonna keep this, and I'm also gonna keep the Cookies and Cream. I do prefer the Cookies and Cream though, but I think both of these are really nice palettes, so they get to stay. But let me pull out all of these things, and we can go through BH Cosmetics, Natasha Denona, Blend Bunny, and Juvias Place. Okay, let's start with BH Cosmetics. I think it's safe to say at this point that the BH Cosmetics that we loved is just not coming back. They have not been releasing much at all, and I honestly don't know what has happened since they got bought by Makeup Revolution. I think they had great plans, but then Makeup Revolution themselves also found themselves in hot water, so it's been a year. It's been a journey. I'm gonna declutter some of our BH Cosmetics palettes that I don't reach for, honestly, and I'm gonna save the ones that are the absolute best. So I'm gonna get rid of the Tokyo one. I'm gonna get rid of the Avocado Toast one. I'm gonna get rid of the Mimosa one. This one is really pretty. I'm gonna get rid of the Hawaii one. I'm definitely keeping Blueberry Muffin. This was best palette of 2020 or 2021. One of the two. Definitely keeping it. It is an absolute beautiful palette. We are of course keeping it. Switzerland. I think we're getting rid of. I do like the colors in this one, but I like another palette from them more. So I'm gonna get rid of the Puerto Rico. The Amalfi one is like more of a warm neutral one, and the Saint Tropez one. I don't reach for these. Nobody's like literally asking for these. Is this untouched? Is this untouched? Untouched. I was so rooting for BH Cosmetics. I was hoping they were just gonna come back and just be amazing. But they never were. This is totally untouched. Makes me sad. I think I'm just gonna give this one away. Me. These are two of the newer palettes that came out. These are nice. They really are. But I'm gonna actually declutter these two. They're not perfect. I just want to save the ones that remind me of how great they used to be, honestly. That's how I feel about that. I really like this one. I think it's a great color story, and I want to keep this one again as a reminder. Same with the Peridot one. They had a couple of these like birthstone ones. This one was really great too, and I really like the garnet one. Maybe I shouldn't keep this one. It's not as special though. And the amethyst one. Just a reminder of how great they used to be. Same with their ice cream palettes. This is the pistachio one. And then the cherry on top. It's actually my favorite. Some of the best affordable red eyeshadows. Some of the best red eyeshadows. Screw affordable. Just some of the best red eyeshadows ever. And then bubblegum one, which is the blue one. And then we have a couple of more here. Lost in Los Angeles. One of my favorite pastel palettes gets to stay. Barcelona is a surprisingly good palette. This also gets to stay. And then of course Passion in Paris, one of my favorite palettes. I think this was, maybe this was 2021's best palette, honestly. In my rankings, I'm gonna be ranking palettes this year as well, of course. Absolutely love it. It is beautiful. So yeah, I'm keeping these. I'm keeping these. And I will say this collection, the Say It collection, this is stunning. This is such a good collection. This is Low-Key Love You, Looking Like a Snack, Optimistic AF. Oh, how I love this one. This one, oh, it's so good. Do Not Disturb, such a great color story. Absolutely love it. And then it is Let That Go, and this is a green one, and this isn't as good as the other ones, so I'm actually gonna let this one go, and I'm saving these for. So yeah, my BH Cosmetics collection has become a little smaller because I'm letting go of some. Let's do a little bit of Blend Bunny Cosmetics. Let's start with this one because this is where the mini palette belongs. This is a Trove palette. It is a quad of 4 multichromes. Really high quality multichromes. I will say I don't use these myself that much, but they're definitely staying for comparison reasons. They're honestly really good quality. I just myself don't use dark multichromes that much, and they came with the Lure palette. Well, not came with, but it was part of that collection. I really like this color story, but I can totally see some people having some criticisms about like this kind of a color story almost already have been made by the company. Did like the looks that I've done though. I think it's really good quality. It's not my absolute favorite palette from the brand though. This one is a really good one. Honestly, I think that this one that is called All Done Up is one of the best neutral palettes in my collection. Honestly, great quality. Super beautiful. Pastels, midtones, darker shimmers. It's some unexpected colors, really go together. It's like a really nice grungy neutral palette. This is the Sugar and Grunge that came out now. I really like the color story of this one. I think it has some really, really good colors. I especially like this row and this row. I think they're really, really good rows. I really enjoyed this palette, and this is the Sickly Sweet that is the newest palette to my collection from them. This is their pastel palette, and they made this one have a little bit more of a jumbled up color story. I don't mind that myself, but I understand that some people are getting used to her having a little bit more organized color stories. Personally, I don't care either way, if I'm gonna be honest, but I totally understand that it might be a very stark contrast to what she's done before. Really, really nice pastels though. I think it is a good palette. This is the original Blends palette, which is a matte rainbow palette. I know some people this is the staple palette that they reach for a lot. I think it's slightly too big to be a palette that I reach for a lot, but I do really like the colors in here, and the quality is honestly like amazing. This is my favorite, and I think she has discontinued this one. There might be some left, but she's not able to restock it. This is the Surge palette because it has some, these are neons. I don't know if I... Can you see that they're neons if I'm like shading it a bit? Because usually they get washed out with some color. But the neons, she's not able to restock them because the pigments are so expensive nowadays. This is a beautiful color story. Such an unexpected rainbow. Really, really like this one. This is the Primal palette. This one has already been discontinued. It was a more, primal rainbow palette. Very bright, saturated, beautiful. I loved the pastel row in this one. Absolutely stunning. The Dollhouse palette was the first, like, more neutral palette that she did. I personally prefer the other one because I feel like this one is a little bit more cool tone, a little... I don't want to say dustier, but it has some more gray undertones in here. So I prefer the other one, but I think the quality is still really beautiful. This is the one that I'm actually going to declutter. This is the Forget Me Not. This is the Face and Eye palette. These aren't for me. They're all very, very cool tone on my skin tone. I know it says to be warm tones and cool tones in here. These are, none of these are pulling warm on my yellow undertone. So for me, I would have loved to see these highlighters be like single highlighters because I love the quality of them as face highlighters. But this isn't a color story that I use on my eyes, and also these colors don't work on my complexion, so I'm gonna get rid of this one. Before we get into Natasha Denona, let's do some Juvias Place because I honestly feel like I'm only gonna keep a few of Juvias Place because same here. I really like Juvias Place, but with their eyeshadows, I don't feel like they've been in a good headspace of creating interesting color stories as of late. I feel like it's been more bigger palettes that's almost rainbows, and even though the quality has been nice, I kind of miss their smaller, more curated palettes. So I have two quads here, the Army and I have the Mints. These are great quality quads, but I don't reach for these in my life now that I have so many other like good indie palettes in my life. The Nomad, it's a really good one. I think I might hold on to this one and also the Warrior 2, because this one has great quality mattes. There are these like warm and dramatic ones, which I really like. I also kind of like the Warrior one, but is this the neutral palette that I'm gonna be reaching for? Probably not. So let's actually get rid of that one. The Tribe one is one of my favorites from Juvias Place. I'm gonna save this one. I love this. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be these big pans. We don't have to see that, but this was a good curated color story. And I don't feel like we see that right now from the brand. Oh, I really like the Nubian 3 Coral. I don't use it enough. I actually really like this color story. This like corally peachy brown with the pop of some grays. I think this is a great color story. I'm gonna keep it. The bronzed one, I'm actually gonna get rid of it. The berries, same here. Sweet pinks, I think these are good palettes, but I don't reach for them because I have so many good indie palettes that I really love. Do love this color story though, but I can get this color combo from the new Christmas palettes by Udin Eye with the peach with the red, because I love that. And oh, I used to love the Saharan too, but this is so old. Like we're talking 6-7 years old. You know what? It must be time for it to go. These are what I'm talking about, some bigger palettes that were released, and they are good quality. And I am actually gonna hold on to these. This is the Culture 2. I think it's good quality. I think it's fun. I just wish they would have done some more curated things as well. And this is the Culture 1. Same again. Good quality. There is one pressed glitter here. I really do not need to see that ever in a palette, but it's good quality. It's nice colors, good variation, but like I miss some of the smaller palettes, and I really hope that in the future we'll be able to see more of that from Juvias Place, because I feel like it's been quite a while since I saw them release a color story that I was truly inspired by. And now we're getting into a brand that I have a lot from. This is Natasha Denona. I hope I have everything here. There might be some stragglers, but we'll see. We'll see if I have everything or if there's some coming later. But I think since I have the scene on here, I feel like I have all of them here. So this is the Sunrise palette. I feel like this is one of her older palettes, but I really did like this one. I am at this point, I think I have most of the Natasha Denona palettes, so I don't foresee myself getting rid of any of her midi palettes because I am reviewing like all of her palettes that are coming out. I really like Natasha Denona formulas. One of my favorite formulas. This is the pastel palette. I think this is a good formula, and I think this is a good palette. It's my favorite pastel palette. Probably not. I probably should do like an updated or like a pastel palette showdown or something. I will say that last time I did one of those showdowns, it didn't get a lot of views, so I'm guessing that like people weren't as interested in palette comparisons as I thought. So maybe that's the reason why I haven't filmed another one since. This is a retro palette. I think this is my favorite Natasha Denona palette. It is almost neutral, but it's almost colorful. It goes from really like an incredible milky light baby pink to a dark shimmers, mattes. There is some variety. You can go bold, you can go neutral. Love this palette. This used to be my favorite palette until this one came. This is my new favorite palette, the Yucca palette. How I love this palette. I think this palette is amazing. Goes from light to dark. This one is incredible. It's in like a bright inner corner highlight. There are shimmers, there are mattes. You can go warm, you can go a little bit more grunge on the... I absolutely love it. Love this palette. This is my favorite palette from Natasha Denona. I think the color story is genius. Absolutely love it. If you're only getting one palette, this one. I know that people were so crazy for the Xenon palette to come out. I don't love this packaging. I feel like it looks almost like, I don't know, packaging from the 90s that we didn't need to see again. So this is the midi Xenon, and I just think this is great. People are like, what about the undertones? And I'm just like, what about the undertones? Like, what undertones are we talking about here? This is just gray. Yeah, there are a little bit of undertones. I just feel like There is so much that could have been done with colors that goes with grays, and I just feel like, for me, personal opinion, I feel like this is a missed opportunity. Then we have the Sendo palette. I feel like this palette wasn't really loved, but I love this palette. Again, I love shades like this, like pastel-y light colors. I think this is a great palette. I kind of want to wear this again. This is such a beautiful palette. I think it was an underrated palette. This was a palette though that wasn't my favorite. This is the Retro Glam. I thought it was a little blah. I loved these light colors, again, because I love colors like that, but I didn't really like any of these darker colors. I didn't think that this one was dark enough to be an outer corner color, and there's nothing else in here that's dark enough. I wish that this one was like a matte. I just feel like this one leans a little light, and I feel like some of these colors look very similar on the eyes, and I wasn't wowed by this one. Some people loved it, not me, and again, had I not been the type of person that wants to keep Natasha Denona for reviewing purposes, I probably would have gotten rid of that one because I think it's one of my least favorite. That one and the Xenon palette. So this is the My Dream palette. I actually love this packaging. I know some people didn't, but I think it's great. This is what I want with a neutral palette. There are some browns, but there are also some different undertones. You can go really dark if you want to. The only thing that this one is missing is an inner corner highlight for me. But again, I can reach for that in another palette. Plus there is a multi-chrome in here. Green going to, you can see, it's nice. It's a fun palette. I really do enjoy it. This one is a lot of people's favorite palette. This is the Glam palette. This isn't as gray as the Xenon palette, so for me, I think this is more wearable on me, but I think a lot of these shimmers are extremely similar on the lid, and for me, this is a boring palette. But again, that's because of my makeup style, so for me, this is a boring palette, but for some people, this is the neutral, almost cool tone brown palette of people's dreams. Not mine. This is the I Need a Nude palette. And this is also a neutral palette, but this one is leaning more of a neutral, almost leaning a peachy terracotta in the undertone. Totally understand why this is the neutral palette of a lot of people's dreams. I loved the looks that I did with this palette. All the things that I've done with this palette has been extremely easy to work with. It's been very flattering. It's been just pretty looks all over. But again, I'm not into neutrals that much, but I do prefer this one over the Glam palette. I do prefer this one over the Retro Glam palette, and I do prefer this one over the Xenon palette, like a lot. More variety, and honestly for me, more exciting colors. This used to be one of my absolute favorite palettes. I don't even know if this is available anymore. I think she did restock this on her website, and this is the Love palette, the Love Midi. I love this color story. Reds with pinks is incredible, and this color that's called Valentine is just so pretty. There's a silver in here. There's this dark, almost like plummy black that is a cream to powder. Absolutely stunning palette. I feel like this is an unsung hero. Really love it. And then we have the bronze palette. If you love more warm tones, here you have your mustards, you have some of the more red tones, like bronzy tones. Again, some of the shimmers are very similar on the lid. This. Under Gunthreat, I might have been able to spot a difference, but I honestly think that there should have been one or two of these shimmers, the goldy ones, should have been one lighter matte and one lighter shimmer, in my humble opinion. Maybe not so humble opinion. Then we have some of the full-size palettes. This is the Trio Chrome. And the Trio Chrome this year also came with a mini Trio Chrome. Should I have shown you some of these mini palettes while we were discussing this? Maybe. Because, well, this is the mini Trio Chrome. So it came with a blue row. And Natasha Denona basically said that, like, oh, this is the blue row for the Trio Chrome. I think it's pretty smart. I thought that this palette, the mini palette, was okay. And I feel like the big palette, same here, it's okay. It's not blowing me away, but I think it is a good palette. For me, this is better in together with something else, but I still think it's a good palette. The Metropolis palette, though, is amazing, and this is one of the best color stories that she's made, but I also will say there are a lot of redundant shades in here. A lot of shades that did not need to be here, some very similar shimmers, and she also did do a mini palette for that one, which is this one. But this one does have 5 shades that are existing to this palette, and I think it is this one. It is this one, I think. And there is like one of these like brownie shades and the lighter here maybe? I don't even know. Now I don't even know. I guess it's this one? No, this and this. Where's this one? Oh, maybe this is the new one. Because one of them was supposed to be either a new or from another palette, right? I'm confused. And then there's this one, of course, the one that's over here. Honestly, I thought this palette was nice, but I think that with this palette, what was really great with this palette was the blue and the green cream to mattes, and none of them is in this mini. So for that reason, I think she missed the mark a bit. But the Metropolis palette is a really, truly beautiful palette. Again, this is one of my least favorite Natasha Denona palettes. This is the Lila, but this was my first Natasha Denona palette. I actually bought this one in Sweden when it first came. There are some pretty shades in here, more sophisticated, more subdued formulas. The Circo Loco was a really fun palette because it truly was like circus, like on the front. And I like the craziness of this one, and I love that there are two pastels in here. I thought this palette is really fun, especially mixed with other palettes. I kind of hope for a mini Circo Loco. That would have been fun. And the Biba palette, this is the neutral palette that has more like, again, it's very similar. Let's actually look at them. It's very similar to the I Need a Nude. Aren't they very similar in undertone? I think the Biba has more yellowy tones maybe, but they're both leaning a little brown, peachy, a little bit on that level, but this one has some black and gray as well, but they're fairly similar. The Biba one though is more expensive. The Biba one is a $129 palette, and the strong suit about the Biba palette is the mattes. The shimmers are meh, but there's only 3 of them, so maybe it doesn't matter. Then of course all of the mini palettes. I do not own all of them, but I do own a big chunk of them. Again, I'm keeping them for reference because it's nice to have for reference. Again, I do review a lot of Natasha Denona on my channel. My most used is the mini Xenon. If you want a gray palette, get this one instead of the midi one. This is my most used one. Color story wise, I think my favorite is this one. Was this the Love Crush? No, this is the mini Love. The Love Crush is this one. It's also a nice one, but I think I love the this one a little bit more. Or do I? Maybe I do like this one a little bit more because it has 3 mattes. Either way, both of these mini Love palettes are really good ones. Other than that, color story wise, I think the mini Bronze one has a great color story for mattes. I think that's really good. I like the midi Sendo palette. I know not a lot of people like that color story, but I thought this one was really beautiful on the eyes. But overall, most of these are a little bit more neutral leaning, and I hope we get a mini Circo Loco because we have this one that is the mini Pastel. It's just that this is 4 shimmers and a matte, and I would like the Circo Loco to be like a little bit more like these 2 or 3 mattes with 2 shimmers. I would really like that. I also have the mini Tropic. This big palette does not even exist anymore, and I don't know if this one exists anymore either. Like if, oh well, here of course it exists, but like if it's available to purchase. Not 100% sure. Let me get rid of these and I can get the next batch. Okay, I have a full batch of new palettes, and most of these are different indie brands that I don't have as many palettes from that I had from these other brands. This is Adept Cosmetics, and this is Samarian Sunset. This is a multi-chrome palette. I mean, you can see here very clearly that there are some multi-chrome things going on. I love Star Trek. I love nerdy references. We are definitely keeping this one. And then, of course, I have the Adept and Heather Austin palette. Such a beautiful one. Like, look at this. It's just so cool. Love the color story. And of course, I mean, Heather is one of my best friends. So obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but like, these are really beautiful. I'm definitely keeping both of these. And then I have some palettes from Game Beauty. And I like Game Beauty and I like where the brand is heading. So I don't think I will be decluttering any of the palettes, but I might be decluttering some next year depending on how many they come out with now. So this is the Cyberpunk palette. This is what it looks like. I think the quality of these palettes that were in the old packaging, this kind of a fold-up packaging, I think is okay, but not amazing. Okay, this is the, I think this is the Adventure palette. Really like the, just like that there's a gaming inspired palette or like brand that makes palettes. This is the Fantasy palette. Really fun with some pastels. This is the Victory palette, more of a neutral palette with a pop of a teal. And then we have, I think this is my favorite, this is the Harbinger palette. Like, had some deep colors, really fun ones. But I really liked when they started doing these kind of palettes, because it's clear that they had some improvements when it comes to formulation. So this is the collab that they did with Phantom Thieves, or like Persona 5. Phantom Thieves Persona 5. I like I said, love games, just do not play this one. This was the more rainbow palette-y one. I prefer the one that was called the Metaverse one, because I thought the mattes in this was like really nice. And then this year they came out with these palettes that were the same kind of color story, different elements, same kind of color story that their highlighters had that we talked about in my highlighter declutter. And they had a green one, which is my favorite. Really pretty. They had a blue one. And a purple one. This one is really nice as well. This also has a multi-chrome here. Really nice. And then there is a like a peachy red one. Some oranges. And there is a neutral one that instead of a golden, it's a neutral one. I think this one is really cool as well. I love browns with yellows. And these are the best quality that Game Beauty has ever made. And I'm gonna keep all of these because I really love this brand. And I really love their vision, and I think the owner is super sweet, and I'm just excited to see where they are going in the future, so I'm just holding on to these things. Here we have some palettes from Shroud Cosmetics. I have 5 palettes from them. They are releasing, as I'm filming this video, they're about to release another palette that is called, oh, I actually have one more palette from them, but I don't know where it is, but we'll find that eventually, and it is the Peaches and Dreams palette. But they are releasing a Dark Academia palette soon, and I'm excited to be seeing how that one's going to be as well. This is the Moonfall palette. I didn't love the mattes in this one, but the shimmers are incredible. But I am going to hold on to this one a little bit more because I like the color story and I want to match this together with others. I'm sure this one together with the Peaches and Dream would be amazing. This is the Creepy Cute. This is the original formulation. These are some really great pastels in here. Very nice. And this is the Creepy Cute too. And this is what I'm saying. This was the original one, and I think that they made it a little bit smaller, and this is the second one. And this one has more brighter colors. I've actually not used this one, but again, I am gonna hold on to this one because I feel like, again, I like Shroud Cosmetics. I like indie brands, and I want to hold on to some palettes from some brands. So I know that Batty Bean and Shroud has done 2 collabs. This is the first one. It's Freaking Bats. Oops, mine is a little bit crumbly. It's been in an accident, but really pretty palette. And this is the second one, Halloween. Really pretty as well. I do prefer the colors to the first one, but this one has some really cool colors like the iridescent green and the metallic orange. Those are 2 favorites for sure. So I am going to be saving these palettes because, again, I am a big fan of indie brands, and I like reviewing indie brands, and I like doing comparisons with indie brands. I have some Viseart here as well, and I only have some of their smaller palettes. Actually really love them. This is the Violet Attendu palette, one of the best purple palettes on the market. This purple matte is so good, it's incredible. If you love neutrals but you love purples, this is a great palette. Definitely keeping. Oh, there are some blue eyeshadow here. I have to clean this up. This is the what is this one called? This says Bichouette, but I feel like it has another name as well. Really pretty, like dark color story. I like Viseart a lot, and I actually do travel a lot with Viseart. This is the Dark Edit. Really nice quality, really pretty shades. They're just so small and cute. This is the Paris Etoile. Dark and Smoky. This is the Paris Edit, which is more, neutral, like rose gold neutrals. And then we have the Spritz Edit. Again, this is also a really nice, more red neutral palette. Really high quality shadows in this one. And yeah, I just really like Viseart. I like the quality. I like them for traveling. I will say, with that being said, I have not seen any incredible color stories from Viseart since they did this Violet Attendu. Since then, I haven't seen a color story that I've been wanting to try. But that doesn't mean that I won't keep looking, because I really do like their quality. I still have 2 palettes from Nabla here. I also do have their new palette. I don't know where it is. It might be in the pile of like mail. But I do have their new palette. That's a neutral palette as well, the mini one. I might do something with that one on my channel. This is the Cutie palette in Platinum. This is a really nice color story. Have not reached for this in a hot minute though. And same with this Wild Berries one. Do I need these in my collection for comparisons? Is anyone asking for these? I don't know. I have some of their singles as well that I also haven't had time to do anything with. I don't know. These used to be so innovative and they're not bad. It's just that so many more good things have come out since. And I have stuff like this in my collection that I could recreate with. They're a little bit newer and maybe more fun for that reason. And there's not a lot of people that are asking for comparisons with Nabla, so I actually might declutter these too. Look at me, the first declutter from this pile. Again, I love indie brands, so bear with me. I will though declutter these eyeshadow palettes from Jason Wu. I was hoping that these were gonna be like great palettes from the drugstore, and they're just pretty mediocre. The mattes are pretty stale. They're not super pigmented. They're not pretty like that fun. The shimmers are okay. I feel like this one, if you are looking for pastels and you are not having any availability to any of the other brands that I'm showing to you, and this one you can find because it is sold at different places. It is sold at like Skin Store, it's sold at Target. These pastel shimmers, they're pretty nice. They're pretty decent, but other than that, you can do better at the drugstore than these. Oh, I'm getting blue eyeshadow everywhere. I am not succeeding in cleaning that one up. So I have a couple of things from Sigma here. I really do like Sigma as well, but I don't love everything from Sigma. We have the Sigma and Angela Bright collab palette here. I think the quality of these shadows are just incredible. And again, I've met Angela and she's such a sweet person, and I love hanging on to collabs made by people that I actually really like. And I think she did a great job with the quality of this palette, and the color story is really fun. So we're definitely keeping that one. This is a newer palette to Sigma. I don't even know if I've reviewed this palette yet. This is the Beauty and the Beast palette. It's fairly new, so we are gonna hang on to it. We also have the other Sigma and Disney collab that they've done, the Cinderella palette. It's a really cute palette. Let me hang on to the Disney ones that they have done. This is the Alice in Wonderland. I love this one because I love the color story. I had so much fun with this palette. I think this is a beautiful palette, and the gold background makes it look almost more muted than it is, but it is a really fun palette. And like, look at this insert, it's so fun. So we're gonna keep this one as well. Then I have the new mod and the Untamed. I remember when the new mod came out. It is a beautiful mauve color story. Do I need to keep this now though? Because I haven't been into mauves that much as I've been into like mustards when it comes to neutrals. I really hope that Sigma does like a mustard eyeshadow palette. I would have loved that. That would have been so cute. But they're so into their pinks though. They are so into their pinks. But I would love to see like a neutral mustardy color story from them. I will say though, they had this other eyeshadow palette that was a little bit more neutral browns. What was that one called? The Untamed? No, this is the Untamed. What was it called? It's like a gold cover. If that one had just been like a little bit more yellow leaning, I think I might get rid of this one. Only because I don't love neutrals as much as I love colors. And I'm more likely to reach for these palettes. But I really did enjoy this one. I think it is a really good quality palette. It's just a color story that might not be perfect for me. I know I kept the Untamed because I like that it is like a muted rainbow palette. Like, could they do a full colors like palette based on this boho shade? That would have been amazing. but I think I'm gonna get rid of this one because when it comes to colorful shadows, I do prefer the Alice in Wonderland over this one. I have some from Glamlight Cosmetics here as well. They make really good eyeshadow palettes, let me tell you. And I have 5 different palettes here. I think these are the ones I have from the brand. I think I might keep all of these because again, Glamlight Cosmetics, this is Nocturnal, is a brand that I really do enjoy. This is a beautiful palette and I really enjoy the vision that she has. This is Into the Night and I want to see what else she does in the future. I think this is my least favorite color story. I do love neons, but somehow this color story didn't 100% work for me. Love this one though, the glamorous one. This color story, it is so good. Love this color story with the almost like turquoisey mints and then the warm burgundy purples. Ugh, absolutely love this color story. I think that these 2 more neutral palettes, this is the Sugar and Spice, and then we have the Rich Romantic. I think if you love neutrals, I think both of these would be nice options. They have neutral options, this one being a little bit warmer and this one be a little bit more cooler with pastels. And I think they have very interesting formulations as well in here. There are some duochromes and special shades in here. And this one has some multichromes, leaning a little bit more on the green side though, as you can see. Even though the palette is a little pink. I don't 100% love that twist, but I still think that these are 2 more leaning on the neutral side, but maybe a little bit more interesting. But again, this is a brand that I really like reviewing and I want to see where the brand is going in the future. And I'm just going to keep these palettes and we'll see what happens later on. Here we have a couple of one-off palettes from brands that I don't necessarily have anything else from. And I might be getting rid of quite a few of these. Let's start with Hatice Schmidt's Holy palette. I think that this color story is really fun, but I can find similar things to this in my collection. Maybe not this exact color story. Do love the yellow, I do love the blue. I like this color story, and I think it is a really pretty palette. I think it's an inspiring palette, but again, this is a brand that nobody is really asking me for, so I think I'm gonna get rid of that one. This is the Terra Moon El Barrio palette. I don't know why they haven't really released like anything else other than this palette-wise. I thought this was a really good quality palette. It didn't have any of their multichromes though, but the quality of the shadows was really good. But I think I'm gonna declutter it because this palette is turning out to be pretty old. This is CC Color and Sarah Jo did a collab together, and since then CC Color has actually closed down. Really love the color story of this. I think Sarah Jo did an amazing job with the color story. The quality is not my absolute favorite quality, but I will say I think the color story is really beautiful. It is neutral but still poppy. Love going from light to dark. Just didn't love the quality, and I think again the brand doesn't even exist anymore. And it's the same with Kai Love. This brand, this is the Art Nouveau palette, does not exist anymore. This is somewhat of the rainbow palette that they did, and I really like this palette. I had a lot of fun with this palette. I thought the quality was really nice. I loved especially this corner here. I thought it was so bright and fun, but I think I will declutter it because I don't think the brand exists anymore. And I have other rainbow palettes that I like as well. I have the Lois Cosmetics Meet Me at Midnight. This is the only palette that I have from Lois Cosmetics. And a lot of people really loved her first palette. I have not used that one. And I think this one was okay. I think the quality was okay, but nothing more. So I actually will be decluttering this one, but I really am excited to see what else the brand comes out with, because clearly her first palette was amazing. It's just that this one wasn't really living up to that hype, but I'm excited to see what comes in the future. I have this Citronata palette by Glam Shop here. This is a beautiful yellow palette. The yellow shadows in here are some of the best yellow shadows I have in my collection. We will be keeping this one. And then I have, well, of course, Tiny Marvels. I will never declutter this one. This is Mel Thompson and Sydney Gray's collab, and unfortunately Mel Thompson is no longer with us. She is forever missed, and I will forever keep this palette. It's beautiful and I miss her. This is Laura Lee collab with Erin Weaver, which is her niece. This is Candy Skies. This actually was a pretty decent palette. I haven't tried anything else from the brand. Again, it's not really a palette or a brand that I'm reaching for a lot, so I think I will be decluttering it. Don't dislike it though. Again, it's one of those palettes that nobody is asking for any comparisons. And this is Give Me Glow Nightlife, the corally one, and the Give Me Glow Nightlife, the blue and green one. I didn't love these. And it made me sad because so many people have been saying that Give Me Glow was their absolute favorite formula ever. And I just did not feel that. I just did not feel that. I think they blended together to one color. They did not have the grip that I like in an eyeshadow. I think the shimmers are incredible, but I am a matte girly. And for me, mattes sell me a palette, mattes sell me a brand, and these mattes did not sell me the dream. Do love the color of these though. Like the color stories and the covers of these, just the mattes, they're not my journey, okay? Here I have some things from Gloss Gods. Gloss Gods is a Swedish indie brand. So I have a bunch of things here. I have the Vintage Glam Remixed, which is a neutral palette with some purples. I actually don't know exactly what I want to keep. This is the new Neutrals Remixed. I think I might be getting rid of this one because it is a neutral palette, and it's a similar color story to the I Need a Nude from Natasha Denona. Then we have the Gal on the Moon, which is an all shimmer palette with like multichromes and duochromes. And the Gal on Mars, same, but like a little bit more reddish. I don't do all shimmer palettes, so I think I will be getting rid of those two. Look for Rainbows, same thing, but rainbow shadows, really beautiful. You can see it's been like leaking a little bit of oil, but I don't think I need an all shimmer palette. Dancing in the Sky, all shimmer palette with greens, beautiful, but I don't think I need an all shimmer palette. Incendio is the collaboration between Gloss Gods and my friend Margareta Gräs. Definitely will be keeping it. Not only is this a beautiful color story, it's great quality, and I love Margareta. So definitely, again, I always save collabs from people that like I've met and that I really enjoy. So we will of course be saving this one. This is the Vanity Vein collab. So this is the first Vanity Vein collab, and I actually have the second part here that I haven't even used. So it's a quad, and then there is another quad here. It's top 4, and this one has just shimmers, and this is like blues and like, I don't know if I need this though. I don't know. I've only met Vanity Vein once, and it was at her launch party. I think I actually might be giving these away, and instead I will be digging into this one. This one has one shadow that's a little mushed, but again, this is almost all shimmer palette with the black. I think I will be giving this one away because it's an all shimmer palette. This is Color of Rain, but this one, Lavender Skies, this one has mattes and shimmers, and I'm thinking we need to do something with this, right? This one we need to do something with, so this one is going on my let's try this list because I feel like this one has a lot of potential. So let's keep this one for sure. And what's your power? This is the more almost neon pastel with shimmers. I really did like this one, and I think I will be saving the Vintage Glam as well, the nudie purple one, and I'll get rid of some of the other ones. They do a lot of all shimmer palettes, which is not my absolute favorite, but like I get it. The last one in this batch is a bunch of things from Bella Beauté bar, and I feel like they've had a really good year. They have released quite a lot of things, and they've really upped their quality as well. I'm so impressed with like where they are right now. I don't foresee myself actually getting rid of any of these because, again, I feel like Bella Beauté Bar is one of those brands that I don't want to say I recently discovered them because that's not necessarily true, but it's definitely been a brand that I've been falling in love with throughout this past year. This is their pastel palette. It's really nice quality. I usually do not like big palettes like this, but I'm gonna keep it. Again, this is a brand that I'm diving into, that I'm fully invested into, so I'm gonna keep the palettes that I have from them so that I can be a good reviewer. This is Smoky Glam. The quality of this palette is insane. If you were wondering, by the way, of swatches or looks with any of these, I say that when we're like 1 hour in. I'm fairly sure that I have swatches and looks with almost every palette that I'm showing you in this video that is not untouched, because I'm a busy bee. I film a lot of videos, I film a lot of tutorials. This is a beautiful color story. Is this too big for my liking? Yes. Is it also great quality? Also yes. Then we have the Best Mattes, and this is a collab that they did with Ellie Starr and Brittany Huffman. This one is heavy. This is a heavy palette because all of these palettes are magnetized, or all of these pans, so you can move them around. When it comes to magnetized palettes, being able to move pans around makes a palette extremely heavy, very expensive, and very expensive to ship. So personally, I prefer when they're not, to make them a little bit more accessible and affordable, but I understand why someone would really love that. Love the color story of this. Lots of mattes in that great Bella Beauté Bar formula. So again, I will be keeping that one. This is the newest palette, the Bejeweled palette. As I'm filming this, it is just released and just sold out. It is their Jeweled palette. It's just very, very pretty. Very pretty. A little dark though, let's be honest. This is the Sun and the Sea palette. This is a release with the new formula of a palette that they had in the very beginning. Really nice formulation. There is 2 like iridescent shades here at the top or at the bottom corner that I really like. The big complaint that I had with this palette is that these 4 shades are too similar and these 2 shades are too similar. Formulation is pretty good though. I just wish there was some more differentiation between the 2. This is the one that came out last Halloween. This is the Strange and Unusual palette, and obviously this is inspired by Beetlejuice. Really like the color story. For me, a couple of the mattes up here and these 2, not the black, but these mattes are a little hard pressed, a little sheer. They're not bad, but they're not as incredible as the shimmers are. The shimmers are incredible, the mattes are okay. Since this palette, they have changed the formula. So this is the palette that I have from Bella Beauté Bar, that it's like the mattes are okay. Since then, the mattes have become amazing. I think this might be my favorite palette from the brand. This is the Basic Witch palette. Really like this color story, really, really like the formulations. I think this is beautiful. This is a multi-chrome, a blue to a green. I think that they usually put a lot of special shades in their palettes, and I know some people really love it. Also makes their palette a little expensive, if we're gonna be honest, but I mean, they are really good formulation, but just keep that in mind that stacking a code might not be a bad idea just to get some money off. This is the Influenced palette. It's a little bit more warmer. It has a couple of more shimmers than the palette that I showed you before. Really, really pretty, great formula. I do prefer the other one though, because it has a little bit more mattes in there, and you know, I'm a matte girly, but can't deny, really beautiful palette. And this is a brand that I just really enjoy. So this year I will not be decluttering anything from them, but next year we'll see who gets to stay. Okay, another batch of eyeshadow palettes. We have some Ace Beauté, we have some other more random indie brands, and I have my mainstream bucket here as well, together with some Lethal Cosmetics. So let's get these out and we can start decluttering. So I have a bunch more indie things here, and I noticed that this is actually the highlighter from the Scooby-Doo original collection. This is not an eyeshadow palette, but I'm gonna declutter this one because this is a little bit more on the sparkly side. I talked about this in my highlighter video, but I'm gonna get rid of this one. It's really cold though. I thought I didn't have this one from Adept Cosmetics, but I forgot that I had a third palette. This is the House of Elle palette. I think that this one is really cool, but I don't love these 3 mattes at the bottom. I think that Adept Cosmetics makes really good formulations, but not always really good color stories. I hope that this makes sense. Really love the colors in here. For me, this isn't a complete color story. I think it's fun though, but it's not perfect. This is on Colored Rain. This is the Thunder palette. Again, this like packaging is really cool. It is a blue palette. I have so many blue palettes now, and this isn't the best one that I have. I think I'm gonna declutter this one. I feel bad for Colored Rain. I feel like they're falling behind, but also it's not my job to rescue the brand. Does that mean? I don't know. It's fun, but it's not perfect. This is the Peaches and Dreams palette that I talked about with Shroud Cosmetics. Same here. I am gonna keep it. I wanna play with this one and use it together with that darker palette and see how I feel, because I didn't feel like these mattes were my absolute favorite mattes from the brand, but I love the shimmers. So again, I'm giving this palette one more chance, like one more year to shine. I also found another palette from Bella Beauté Bar. This is the Angles of Illumination 3. This is an all shimmer palette. Honestly, shades in here, beautiful, stunning. The ones I've used, I've really, really loved, but I don't love all shimmer palettes, so I'm actually gonna get rid of this one. This is the Still Pretty by September Rose. September Rose just announced that they've actually closed down because the owner has to take care of her mother. This palette was really beautiful though. It's a really, really beautiful palette. I love the color story. Really love the looks that I've done with this palette. This like Zinnia here that is like a almost wet look coral. Super beautiful. I'm gonna declutter this one though because the brand is no longer available. But if they come back, I will for sure be reviewing them again because I really do like the brand. Here is the palette that Cleona came out with this year. This is the Deep Sea Treasures palette. This is all of their... This is all stained glass shadows. It's a pretty new palette to my collection. I'm gonna be holding on to this one. It's really, really nice quality. This is your Forever Love from Gloss Gods. I didn't love the quality of this palette. I thought it was okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this one. Again, I have two palettes from Sugar Drizzle here. I no longer review Sugar Drizzle on my channels. I'm just gonna get rid of those. Ooh, here's the Cindy Grace and Fancy Face palette. Really love this one. The blue mattes in this palette are some of the best blue mattes in my collection. This is a really, really fun palette. And again, I really like Tina. I've met her several times in real life. She is an adorable person. Definitely keeping this one because I really like Tina and I like the palette that she did. I have two palettes from What's Up Beauty. I have the newer one that is the Dragon Eye palette that just came out. Look at this packaging. This packaging is so dope. And this is the color story. It's like a muted purple with some pops of warmer like shimmers. I think it is a really good quality palette, and this is the first one. I don't think I've... Oh, yeah, exactly. Still have the plastic in here. I don't think I've used this one, but I'm gonna save this one. I will say, is there a lot of difference between these two palettes? I feel like the shimmers and the mattes, they're not the same, but I think they really need to be thinking about more clearer visions with color stories in their next palette, because these color stories are not wildly different in concept. So I think that's something they need to think about. I'm saving both of these because I feel like this is an up-and-coming indie brand and I want to keep a closer eye on them. I have the Wheat Belt palette here by Jollity Cosmetics. I like this color story, but I can't with this packaging. This packaging is not good. I'm sorry, I really like them as a brand, but this packaging is not, it's not it. I'm so sorry, I can't. I have a couple of Gourmande Girls here. I have 3 palettes that she has done with Doodles and the Bunny, and then I have the Syria Soto Warriors Wear Pink palette. I'm gonna keep all of these. Gourmande Girls is a brand that I feel has done so much with their formulation this past year. Their formula is really, really nice right now, and I really wanna keep exploring the brand. So I am gonna keep all 3 of these, all 4 of these if I could count. This is the Nightshade palette. It's a really, really nice color story. This is the Spooked palette that came out last Halloween. Has some more neutral options as well. And then we have the Haunted palette. that came out this year. Really, really cool as well. So yeah, again, this is a brand that I am keeping tabs on, so we are going to keep on to that one and just see what happens in the future. I also have some stuff here from Fantasy Cosmetica. They are inspired by fantasy games, especially Dungeons and Dragons, and she does have some updated packaging. You can see that this packaging is just a lot more better than the old packaging. This is the Druid palette. I do not have the updated packaging though. I have the old packaging, but this is the first palette that they came up with. This is the Druid palette. Really pretty, especially their shimmers are amazing. Their mattes are really good too in most of their palettes. I like the mattes in this one. I like the mattes in the Fighter palette. It's a really nice neutral palette if you're after that. The Rogue palette is my absolute favorite one. This one, such a nice palette. I also really like the mattes in the Bard palette. I think this is a fun one as well. Really nice palette. I will say in the Warlock palette and in the Sorcerer palette, I think the mattes are a little weak. I like the shimmers in this one though. This one has one of the best shimmers. It is actually a red to a green, which I think is really, really fun. The Sorcerer has a really nice color story. Love this color story. The mattes, not my absolute favorite. Again, this is also an indie brand that I am keeping tabs on, so I'm going to be saving these palettes and we'll see what happens in the future. Oh, I found another one of the Glamlight Cosmetics palettes here. This is the Beauty palette, which is one of the first one they came out with. I think I might actually get rid of this one. I don't think they're producing this one anymore. And I like the color story of their newer palettes more than this one. This is the collaboration between Cleonard and Emily Violet Marie, the Dragon Fruit palette. Gonna be holding on to this one a little bit longer. I think it's really cute and I love the colors, especially those two green down here. Really, really incredible. And just, again, I really like Emily Violet Marie as well. I am so sad to see that she's not really doing videos anymore for YouTube. I used to really, really enjoy her videos. I have a bunch of palettes here from LH Cosmetics, which is, of course, the brand made by Swedish celebrity makeup artist Linda Hallberg. That's what LH is for. And I have a bunch of her palettes here. This is the gray palette that she came up with. What is this one called? Aim Higher. The Aim Higher palette. I don't wear a lot of gray eyeshadows like this. I think I'm gonna get rid of this one. And then we have the Reload palette. This one I really liked. Thought this was a really cool color story. Really enjoyed this one, so we're gonna save this one. The Smoke It Out palette I haven't used yet. This is their collaboration with, I think it's Hannah Martin. I can't believe it doesn't say on the actual packaging. Like on the actual, it is a collaboration with another makeup artist. But I'm going to keep this one. I haven't used it yet. I also haven't used Blomma, which is the Swedish word for flower. This is the color story that they have done that I probably liked most, and I haven't used it. It's a crying shame. Definitely keeping it. I need to use this one. Love this one. Love this one. Love the pastel. I don't know why I haven't used it. We have Shimmer Saga. Shimmer Saga. I'm trying to understand if it's supposed to be all Swedish because saga is the word for fairy tale. This is a beautiful quad. I think I'm going to hold on to this because I feel like this is a palette that really represents the brand and how actually this is like an indie brand but like a little bit more mainstream. I am going to get rid of the Basic Elements one. This is really good metallic shadows, but I don't reach for like a gold, a copper, a silver a lot, and not enough to have it in a separate quad like this. So I'm gonna get rid of that one as well, and I'm saving these 4, and 2 of them I haven't even used. I'm a mess. I also have 2 palettes here from OPV Cosmetics. Again, a brand that I don't necessarily at all feature on my channel, but these are made by some of my close friends. This is the palette that Samantha March did, and this is the palette that Ali Dawson did. Like I said, I want to keep collections from people that I actually talk to and really like. And yeah, I don't necessarily use OPV on my channel because of different reasons, but these are my friends and I'm gonna be saving them because I like the people behind it. So I have some things from Ace Beauté here. Ace Beauté is a brand that does one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas, and I think they make amazing palettes, and I don't foresee myself getting rid of a lot of Ace Beauté if I'm gonna be totally honest. I think that their reformulation that they did a couple of years ago was one of the best things the brands have done. It just, their formulation is amazing, especially their mattes. Love them. This is Tropical Vibes. Mine has tumbled. but it's still absolutely beautiful. Still love this palette. I'm definitely keeping it. This is the Flare palette. Not as well used, still beautiful color story. I'm gonna keep it. This is the Ambiance palette, one of their newer palettes. Love the formula. Still think these are beautiful shadows. Again, I wish there are two greens here that are pretty similar. I just wish that they had a couple of more lighter colors in their palettes. I feel like Ace Beauté and Glamlight, they've gone to the same design school. They're always doing palettes that are very dark mid-tone and rarely any light colors. Here we have Oceanic palette. I mean, look at this. Such a bright and fun palette. Look at Algae. Oh, so beautiful. This is Paletopoly. This palette has so many fun shades. So bright, so fun. Love the color stories. Love the undertones. Absolutely love it. This is the one that I think I'm gonna get rid of. This is Violet Sage. This was available as a palette in, is it BoxyCharm, I think? I don't think that this formulation is, it's not bad, but it's not exactly as good as their other ones. So I think I'm gonna get rid of this one. And then we have Classical Paradise, one of my most used eyeshadow palettes in my collection. If you love this color story, this is an incredible formulation. And then we have Slice of Paradise, which is the Rainbow palette. I think this is my least used one, but I don't want to break up the... I don't want to break them up at this point. This is Blossom Paradise. I love pink and red together. I do wish that one of these pinks were more a pastel pink, but I love the formula. And then we have the Paradise Fallen, which is more a cool tone purple one. Again, I feel like with these, the one that I really love is the Classical Paradise. The other ones are a color story that's a little like, these became a hit, this color story in 2016, and I understand why. I think that like these are not my favorite color stories. Do I need to get rid of those? Because I love the other palettes, so I might actually. I might get rid of these three because I feel like I have better things from the brand, even though the color stories are amazing. You know what? I need to get rid of some palettes. That was a good idea because these are some of the best palettes from the brand. Love the color stories. This is the Envy palette. Look at that. Look at how dark and sultry and wonderful that is. Again, I wish there was a pastel in here, but you can't get everything. And this is Aura. Oh, here I have the purples. Love this one. And there is actually a light purple here. Yeah, these palettes are so nice. I feel like this is, yeah, one of my favorite matte formulas, and I'm gonna keep these. You know what? I feel good about myself. I feel good about this. Good decision. Good decision. So we have a bunch of more things here. Most of this is actually Lethal Cosmetics, but I found this one from BK Beauty. This is the True Beauty palette. I have never used this palette, and I've never touched this palette. So I'm actually gonna put this in like a giveaway pile, and I'm gonna give this one away. So I don't know if I'm gonna count any of the palettes that I'm like giving away that I'm not decluttering. I'm not gonna count them as decluttering. Because I'm putting them in a giveaway pile instead. Because like if I have not used them or touched them for a year, there's literally no point in keeping them. So this is some single shadows. I think I will be saving my single shadows from Lethal Cosmetics. I wonder how many of these are single shadows. Some of these, oh, these are highlighters. Okay, that's not where these are supposed to be. I'll put these to the side. I'll put them somewhere else. Are these single shadows too? Yep, here are some single shadows. I'm just gonna figure out, oh, these are the multi-chrome single shadows. I'm just gonna keep the single shadows. I'm not gonna be decluttering those today. Here are some more single shadows from Lethal Cosmetics. I wonder if these might be as well. Yeah, here we have some blue ones. And now this might be an actual palette. I don't remember the name of it, but this might be an actual palette. I think sometimes I save a lot of Lethal Cosmetics and I don't know exactly if it's for the right reason. But I think I will be holding on to some Lethal Cosmetics. This is my favorite. I think this is the Night Flower one. Really like this one. It's a really beautiful one. This one is also singles, I think. one that I've made myself from singles. Same here, one that I've made myself from singles. And one that I've made myself from singles. Okay, and then we have this one. Is this a wildflower then? I don't remember. This was one that came out this year. Really pretty palette, not as dark as the other one. I think I still prefer the Night Flower one. I really like these palettes that came out as well. I wish there was a, like, is it too much to ask to get a name on them? Like, is that too much to ask? I don't remember the name of this. This is a pre-made palette though. This is a pre-made palette, and this one is also a pre-made palette. These are available to buy pre-made on the site. Really like this color. I did a look with these two together and it was absolutely incredible, and I loved the look so much. Really, really beautiful. And these are the two palettes that they've done with Teresa is Dead. So this is the original one, right? I feel like this was the original one. No, I think that this was actually the original one. Yeah, this was the original one that they did, and then they did a second collab, because I remember the second collab having this sparkly silver. Really like this color in the middle. I thought that was a really nice one. And then they've done two like more gaming inspired palettes. This is the 1UP palette. I really like this color story. The shadows in this palette is absolutely incredible. They did a second one that's called the 2UP palette that I just recently tried. I didn't love this one as much. I like the other one better, for sure. But it's like, it's one of those like this, like, you see. It's cool. It is cool for sure. I think I will be saving this Lethal Cosmetics one, but I feel like this is one of those brands that I might go through and get rid of some stuff later on in the year, because I kind of need to go through my singles a little bit, and I feel like this brand might be, I was gonna say in trouble then, but like you understand what I'm saying. I have the old Makeup Geek and Manny MUA collab here. I'm keeping this for nostalgia. So this one gets to stay as well. And then I have this one. This is the Mothership 3 Subversive. One of the original Motherships from Pat McGrath. I still have it in the packaging. This is Heavy Duty. And I got this as a gift from my friend Karen Harris. So I'm obviously never getting rid of it. And I think this is one of the better color stories that Pat McGrath has ever done as well. So I'm very happy to have it. I'm still saving it in the original box. Again, it was a gift and I'm very, very grateful. I also have some stuff from We Makeup here. I have not been using a lot of We Makeup as of late, but I have a couple of their palettes that I've done myself as well. You can make your own palettes on the website. I don't know if I should be keeping these. I haven't reached for these in a really long time. It may be time to declutter those. I have a couple of the mini palettes by Huda Beauty as well. And I have this mini glowish thing. And I also have the, oh, it's here. I have one of the big palettes, the Pretty Grunge. I just got this palette into my collection. This is the first time that I'm trying a bigger palette from Huda Beauty. And so far, I'm really enjoying the quality of this palette. I think it is pretty grungy and cool toned. I'm enjoying the looks that I'm doing. Maybe not my favorite color story, but so far so good. And yeah, I haven't even reviewed this one yet, so we are clearly keeping that one. The two color block palettes from Huda Beauty, these really weren't that good overall. Let's get rid of those. I have been trying the matte ones a little bit more. My first impression of these were that the creams really, really creased, and I still have some problems with creasing, but I can maneuver them a little bit, and I do like the mattes. So I think I'm gonna hold on to these for review purposes, but they're not my favorite palettes, and they're not my favorite mattes, but I do like an all matte look, so I think I'm gonna hold on to them. I think this Wild palette, the Wild Jaguar, it's a really nice smoky palette. If you wanted that smoky grungy look, but just a little bit more in a smaller portion, I think this one is really good. I also really love this nude. This is the medium one. This is like more of a rosy, warm tone, peachy, burgundy color. I'm missing in the corner highlight here. Again, it's not that hard for me to reach into it. But these I really enjoy, so we are going to be holding on to these. This one we're going to get rid of those. This was the Glow Wish by Huda Beauty. This packaging it's giving BH Cosmetics. It's giving Makeup Revolution. not the best color story. This color here, it's like a really weak, dry, boring, almost satin color. And this, I don't understand who this is for. It doesn't go with these colors. It's just a weird color story. We are gonna get rid of this one. I have a couple of the ABH palettes here. I feel, oh yeah, here's the Cosmos one as well. Is this all the ABH palettes I have? I think, oh, I have a couple of the small ones as well. Wait, let me get these. The mini Norvina ones. Oh, this is a Give Beauty quad. I'm gonna get rid of this one. I like the quality, but I don't like the color story. If she releases a quad with a better color story, I'm gonna buy it because I know I like the quality. Just the color story isn't my favorite. These three are like small, like smaller palettes. I really like the color story. I kind of like the quality as well. I've not been reaching for these a lot though. I think I'm gonna hold on to these a little bit longer because I want to get some use out of them. This one is called Rose Gold, right? Rose Metals. I didn't love this color story. I'm actually gonna get rid of this palette. I thought the color story was a little weird. I didn't think it was dimensional enough. It just felt a little muddy and dark. So I'm gonna get rid of it. This Cosmos one, I want to love it. I feel like I should have another ABH palette here somewhere. Oh, I found it. I actually have the Modern Renaissance as well. And I have this one. Because I felt like I was missing something. The Cosmos one, again, I wanted to love it, but I actually don't. I tried to use this in a recent video trying to make up my mind about this palette. I just think this is meh. If you have indie shadows, this is nothing fun at all. The Modern Renaissance, I actually recently got this into my life. I want to get some more use out of this one to see what all the fuss was about, and just I want to get some more use out of it. The Norvina one, this was a really nice palette at the time, but I think it's time for me to let this one go. I have not used it or referred back to it since we did our last declutter. And the palette that they did with Jackie Aina, this is a really fun color story. I'm gonna hold on to this one a little bit more. I feel like this is gonna be one of those like nostalgia palettes in the beauty community. And this is the palette of recent years that they released that I've liked the most, the Nouveau palette. I like the quality, I like the dimension, I like that it has a little bit of a twist to it. This one I really enjoy, so this one gets to stay too. This one I also really like. This is the Italian Spritz palette by Too Faced. Such an unexpected favorite to come out. I really thought that this palette was honestly really good. I really liked it. The shimmers are not like indie quality shimmers, but they're really nice. I thought this palette was a banger. We are definitely keeping that one as well. These, oh my god, the way I wanted to love these, the Star Wars Pat McGrath palette. The palettes, I mean, look at this. They're just stickers on a pretty dinky blue cardboard packaging. The shadows are... they're nothing bad with them, but these are not inspirational palettes. These are not fun palettes. Can I get rid of these and just forget that that ever happened? I have the Jacqueline something Strawberry Feels palette. I don't even know if this brand is around any longer. I have palettes that have this color story that I really like. There's nothing wrong with this palette, but nobody really is asking for that brand, so I'm gonna declutter it. This is the Hindash. Oh my god, the way I want to love this one, it's called Monochromance. I don't love this formula. It's very sheer and not buildable enough for me to love these colors in a sheer formula. That's just my opinion. I think that formula probably works better in more like neutral colors. The Grease and Revolution T-Birds palette, there's nothing wrong with this palette really, but like I will never reach for this palette over some of the other ones I have. I just wanted to give Makeup Revolution another chance, and I wanted to see if they had adapted the BH Cosmetics formula. I don't think they have. This is not the BH Cosmetics formula. It's nothing wrong with the formula, but it's not that. That it is not. This is the LA Girl 4Play eyeshadow palette. It is the green version that is called Cowgirl. I thought these shimmers were extremely dry. Not my favorite at all. I can definitely find you better affordable eyeshadows than those. Oh, and we have some Urban Decay here actually. The Naked palettes were sent to me and I made a full video on these and not a single soul was interested. That's not true, but like it is interesting to me to see like how the mighty has fallen. I think I was the first one on YouTube to have videos on these palettes, but people were just not interested. Did like the color story of this one though, with the something about like blue and yellow together is just really fresh and unusual. But yeah, people are not super interested in these at all. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with the quality, but they're not super fun. So I'm gonna get rid of those. I do have the Bridgerton and Pat McGrath palette. I did get rid of the cheek palette, but I'm gonna save this one. I really like this palette. I think the quality is nice and I like the looks that I've done. So this one gets to stay. The Pat McGrath holiday palette from last year, the big one, this one does not get to stay. It's nice, but it's nothing special. It's nothing special whatsoever, so I am gonna get rid of that one. I have 3 Tarte palettes here. I have the Man-Eater Mini, which is okay, but nothing special. It doesn't get to stay. Then we have the Tarte Big Ego, one of the worst eyeshadow palettes I've ever tried in my life. It is so dry, it is so patchy, it is so hard to work with. Absolutely hate it. Definitely getting rid of it. Then we have the Tartelette Jewel. This is a beautiful palette. One of my pens are loose, but I keep trying to like press it back down because I love this palette. I think that this is one palette that has traveled a lot. This palette has seen the world. I think the quality is beautiful. This is the neutral palette companion thingamajig that I love to bring on travels. Really, really like this one. I think the quality of this one is what I was hoping the quality of these were gonna be, but they're just not. This is wonderful though. Highly recommended, definitely saving it. Oh, I found one more. This is the REM Beauty Midnight Snack. This is okay quality, nothing to write home about, but honestly not bad quality. I feel the same about this as I feel about the Tarte Man-Eater Mini. It's okay, but nothing revolutionary, so I'm gonna get rid of this one as well. Okay, I'm back again with another slew of palettes, but I actually think that this is my last slew of palettes before we can count how many I've decluttered. I have one from Lottie London here. This is called Honeybee. This, I really like this one. I'm gonna hold on to this one as like a good drugstore palette. They just sent me this one in a more burgundy version as well, like burgundy mauves. Definitely looking forward to trying that one. It's actually, I haven't really either unpacked that one, but I'm definitely holding on to this one. Where am I putting these things? I have some things from Didi's Signature. This is a brand that I've started to discover this year. She had like a hiatus, and now she's coming back. This is Plum Perfection. This is like a quad. I have not tried this one out yet. This is what it looks like. It's really pretty. I do like how this quad looks a lot. So I'm looking forward to digging into this one. I have tried the other ones though. I have tried the Classic Autumn. I do have a look with this one. It's a really pretty one. Let me see where I have the other ones because I see it here. Here, I see the other ones here. This is the Jingle Bell Ruby, which is her holiday palette. I also have a look with this one up. And then I have another one here that is the Neutral Wonder palette. This one I have not dug into yet. I think this is a re-release of an older palette. And it is like a neutral palette with some like really nice shifty shadows at the bottom. I love that there is a red tone here. I love neutrals together with reds, so I'm excited to be diving even more into this brand. I only have 4 things from it, but like I'm definitely saving it because again, I love diving into new indie brands and trying them out. Another brand that I just started trying out this year is Arttitude Cosmetics. I'm gonna get rid of the sleeve now. This is the Obsession palette. Just started reviewing this brand. Look at how cute this palette is. Really, really nice palette. They also sent me the palette that they had before, the Man-Eater Untamed. This is what that one looks like. Very bright and fun. I have not tried this one yet though, but I'm always excited to be trying out some new indie brands, so I'm very, very excited about that. Another brand that I started reviewing this year is Simply Posh. This is the Citrus Punch palette that they had this summer, I think. Love the color story. Some of the metallics in this one were a little bit more hard pressed, but they have solved that issue in their newer palette that has an amazing formula, honestly. But I love the color story in this one, and I'm definitely saving it. It is all like lovely duochromes in the middle. Very excited. This is a palette that I've gotten from them. That was their first palette. They did send this to me, but I have not been able to try it out. It is the Fairy Tale Fairies. More like a pastel one. I think they have one this jewel tone as well. That one I do not own. This one is beautiful. I love a mix and match of like pastels and more darker colors. So do think this looks very, very beautiful. And then their like latest release is the Cozy Cabin and the Cozy Up Cheek palette. So I have been trying this one out, and this is what I said, that they really fixed their formula. This formulation, beautiful. Absolutely. Not that the other one was bad, just wasn't as good as this one. Really pretty. And then their cheek palette that looks like this. The cheek palette, I'm keeping it now because it's very new in my collection, but we all know how I feel about cheek palettes. There's nothing really wrong with this formulation. I will say on my skin tone did get a little bit of a gray cast with the highlighters, but I'm still reviewing this one, so it gets to stay for that reason. Another brand that I started trying this year is Ensley Rain. This is the Harvest Moon palette that came out this fall. It's 2 rows of special shades and 1 row of mattes. I either will get it today or tomorrow, their new palette. So I'm not having that one in here. It's like a more pastel, blue, pink, purple color story. So just know that I do own it, but I didn't own it when I'm filming this video right here. I do need to pre-film a little bit. The quality of this one, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Special shades, matte, leaning a little one-sided dark for my personal preference, but I can't deny the quality is stunning. I also have 2 palettes from Florasis. I have one that looks like this, which is a palette that you open up and it looks like this. Really, really pretty palette. Honestly, I think this is a really nice quality palette. It is more like a luxury palette, that it has some more buildable formulas, but I really did like what I did with this palette. And then they have this one that I've also done a look with that is more of a fan. Really pretty. This is more like a neutral palette with that like blue-brown duochrome pigment. I really think that they make good quality eyeshadows, especially if you like more luxury eyeshadows like Dior or Lancome. Will I be keeping these? I think I will keep this one that has a little bit more color to it because I feel like there's a space for it in my collection. This one I will give away to someone who will enjoy a more neutral palette. I have 2 palettes, the Infinity palette by Linda Hallberg. This one is actually even signed by her. This was the original palette that she came out with. Even though this one is signed, I actually think I'm gonna get rid of it. I have not used an all-in-one eye and cheek palette like this in a hot minute. I also have the Infinity Glam here. This one I think I'm gonna keep because this one is beautiful as a cheek palette. Honestly beautiful, and I think I'm gonna keep this one instead of this. That's honestly a little bit old as well, if we're gonna be totally honest. I have a new indie brand here that's called Dots. I have not been able to get time to try this one yet, but it looks so beautiful. Look at this. This is a Polish indie brand. It looks super pretty. You can buy this as singles or you can buy them existing in a palette like this. I really, really want to try them out. I've just not had the time yet. And then they released some pastel, I don't know if it's multichromes or duochromes. I have not tried them out, but they released 5 of them. And I have them in a little palette like this. Again, they're singles. So you can buy them either as a bundle or just one by themselves. Or they have a palette tool where you can create your own palette. So I'm very excited. Ooh, let me get rid of this one. I'm very excited to be trying out this brand. I'm definitely keeping them. Just have not had time to dig into them yet. This is the first palette that Geology Cosmetics This is the Pilbara palette. This one has such a nicer packaging. I like the color story of the other one more, but the packaging is really stunning. I think I'm gonna hold on to this one even though I got rid of the other one. I can't with that bulky packaging. I really, really like the palette though, but like, I know I will never reach for packaging like that. Sometimes you just have to be honest with yourself. Oh, I see we have some Melt here. We have some Nomad Cosmetics here. We have some Lunar Beauty here. Let me organize myself a bit and we can see if we can do these by brand. I found some more Ace Beauté. These are the floral palettes that came out this year. They have some dried flowers in them. Honestly, I like these. I didn't love the pen sizes, but I also didn't hate the pen sizes because I never use big brushes, so for me it wasn't a problem to pick them up. They had this one that had more of a neutral color story with a silver. They had the Fleur one that was like a purpley color story. I like that there was a pastel purple in here, and the Begonia one that was like a green, a red color story. Personally, I like the yellow and the purple the most. These were my two favorite ones. So I think I'm going to be keeping these two, and I'm going to get rid of the other two, and we'll see if I can get some more use out of this ones this year. I also have this palette from Nomad Cosmetics. This one, I think it's the Martine's Diner palette. I don't love the packaging. It's a little bulky, which sometimes can make sense if it's a really elaborated, nice design, but this isn't that. It isn't elaborated design. It's just chunky. There's no design to it. And I thought the mattes were better than the shimmers. The shimmers were traditional shimmers, which sometimes can be nice, but I just wanted a little bit more from this, so I'm actually going to declutter this. I have not tried anything more from this brand since, and it's probably because I was like not underwhelmed, but like not blown away by what I tried in that palette. I have some stuff from Beauty Bay here. I've really been enjoying Beauty Bay. This is the Midnight palette. Love it. Absolutely love it. Think it's beautiful. This is the Berries palette. These are the 16 colored one. Think these are the best color stories. Love it. Definitely keeping it. And then we have the Earthy one. Love it. Definitely keeping it. We have the Dark Fantasy one here as well. I think I'm gonna hold on to this. It's a nice color story. I think I'm gonna hold on to this one. Same with the Wilderness palette. I really do like it. I like the color story. I love that there are reds in the bottom as well. I think this one is really, really nice. So I will be keeping those palettes. I also have the Brights palette. I bought this one to review when I was doing a rainbow palette video. I think the quality of this one, honestly, is pretty good. Like, there are some really good shades in here, and I actually think I will keep this one because it is a good rainbow palette. Missing a couple of pastels, but it's bright, it's fun, and I like it. I like the undertones, so I think I will keep that. I like the Beauty Bay formula, and I especially like their mattes. And I think it's become better with time as well, so I want to keep that. Let's dive into some Melt though. I feel like Melt is one of those brands that have been disappointing me a little bit. And I feel like I'm not, like, the veil has been taken off my eyes. I feel like I'm not as smitten with the brand as I used to be. So I think I might get rid of most. This is the cheek palette. I have not reached for this a single time. We're gonna get rid of it. This is the Smoke Obsessions palette. This is nice, but at the end of the day, these are just really nice metallic shadows. I'm gonna get rid of it. Mary Jane palette. I do like the mattes in this one, but if I'm gonna wear mattes like this, I'm probably gonna reach for a Lunar Beauty palette that I'm gonna show you in a bit instead. So gonna get rid of this one. All of these palettes, these Zodiac palettes that they came out with last year, they were all pretty mediocre. This is the water one. Let's get rid of it. This is the air one. This was my favorite, but it was still a little mediocre. And this is the fire one. No, I have better red. The red palette I showed you from BH Cosmetics is better than that one. And the earth one. This is also a good color story, but again, I can produce better than this in my collection. Really love the Sheezing Parties. I really do. I love this palette a lot. But I have another palette by Colourpop that I'm going to show you in a bit that quite honestly is as good as this one, but just much more affordable. I'm going to get rid of this one. This one came out this year. This is the Electric palette. I don't know what happened. I feel like they changed the formula for the worse. I didn't hate it, but I really did not like it. So I'm gonna get rid of this one as well. We have the, I don't remember what this one is called. Oh, here, Amor y Mariposas, Love and Butterflies. I think that the quality is nice. The packaging, I feel the same about the packaging as I do with the packaging of the Scooby-Doo palette I showed you. It's just doesn't inspire me. And I have this in other palettes. I have this in Udin Eye palettes, in a formula that I actually myself prefer. I feel like me and Melt, we broke up. I will save the Vida and Muerte palettes. These are like makeup history. I will save these for a bit. I will say, are these the best quality ever? No, you can get better than this. This one, just get the one from Ace Beauté that I showed you that has a similar color story than this one. What was it called? It had a red packaging. Get that one instead. Get that one instead. Same, like, not same quality mattes, but also great quality mattes. Muerte, this was unique when it came out. You can get this at Indie Palace. You probably saw something that has this color story in this video. I'm gonna save it for nostalgia reasons, and I'm gonna save these two. The two Beetlejuice collections. I'm gonna save these for nostalgia reasons too. Not because the quality is outstanding, not because these color stories have not been done before or even better by other brands, but nostalgia. Because of nostalgia, because this was a cool collab, because this was when I loved Melt the most, they get to stay. Let's dive into some Lunar Beauty before we go into Nomad, and then I have a bunch of Colourpop. So this is the Moonspell Original palette. It looks like this. I feel like a lot of people have like known this palette. I'm gonna keep this one for reference. I still actually referenced and swatched this palette this year, and I feel like this is how I'm gonna decide whether or not palettes get to stay in my collection, is whether or not I have swatched them and like compared them and like referred back to them the past, I don't know, year. So this is Moonspell number 2. Again, I did refer to this palette not too long ago. It's more of a reddish purple story. I love color stories like this. Red, purple, pink. I'm all about this life. Love color stories like this. So this one gets to stay too. This is the newest palette from the brand. This is Siren Sunset. Really pretty. I really like this palette. I will say this. Did we need all 3 of those lighter beiges in here? I would argue no. I think that at least 2 of these should have been just maybe a mid-tone or a pastel blue, or maybe like a pastel like violet or something to have together with these shades. But overall, I think this is a really pretty palette. This is the one I'm talking about. If I want those kind of browns, I will reach into this palette. These mattes are beautiful. It even has some of those shimmers, or if I want to go silver, I don't need the Melt one. I have this one and I prefer this one. This is the Nude Prism palette. Lunar Beauty is a brand that I really do enjoy. Do I need to keep all the palette? Like, do I need this one? Let me think about that. Let me think about this one. This is Strawberry Dream, a more bright palette. I'm excited that he has a palette like this. I also feel like he might not make a lot of palettes like this in the future, but I do think that this is really fun. So we are gonna keep it. This is the Life's a Drag Facelift. So like a rainbow palette and a neutral palette. I don't dislike this palette, but it's not my favorite. I wouldn't reach for this as a neutral palette, and I wouldn't reach for it as a rainbow palette. So I think maybe this one will go. And we have the Full Fantasy that he did with his bestie Laura Lee. And I think I like this neutral palette more than I like the Nude Prism. How do we feel about these two together, right? Oh my god, I'm making no sense. So I might keep the collab that he did with Laura, and I might get rid of the Nude Prism because it is just very peachy, which is what a lot of people like, just not what I reach for a lot. This is the palette that he had as a holiday palette last year. 12 Days of Lunar. It was basically singles in a calendar, and it made it into this palette. I think I might keep the packaging and make my own palette. I think I might do that. I wonder if I have enough round pan singles to make my own palette, because I would like to do this color story. Don't mind the quality of these shadows at all. It's just not the color story I was hoping for. So I might save the palette and get rid of the shadows. Okay, let's get into some Nomad Cosmetics before we get into some ColourPop, because I have quite a few of both of these brands, honestly, and quite a few really good ones. Like, look at these. This is one of the new ones. This is the Akawango Safari palette. This is their neutral palette. I didn't love all the shimmers, but I overall thought that this was a really nice palette, especially the mattes, and I like the selection of the warmer toasty browns with some cooler toned options together with the yummy greens. Really like it. Again, Nomad Cosmetics is a brand that I really like and I really like reviewing, so I think I will be keeping quite a lot. I really like the Verona Amor e Morte palette. This is their Verona inspired palette with Romeo and Juliet. I had a lot of fun with this palette. I will say, yeah, and a couple of these shades a little similar on this side, yes. Do I also love red and pink, one of my favorite eyeshadow colors, like combos to do? Yes. So I'll forgive them, but I really like this color story. I thought this was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed this palette. Love the packaging. This is my favorite palette. Is it still my favorite palette? I think this is still my favorite palette from Nomad. This is the Monteverde Cloud Forest palette. This is like a neon rainbow palette with a green palette mixed together, and they made it so that you can see on the front it's like a lush forest with like tropical flowers and birds and butterflies peeking through, and they wanted the inside to be the same, so it's like greens and then some just really tropical colors like peeking through. Love this one. It's matte heavy, it's bright, it's fun, it has the greens. I have just had so much fun with this palette, and it continues to be my favorite from the brand. This is the latest palette as I'm filming this, is the Ghost Time USA palette. I think a lot of people really love this palette because it is a little bit more muted, a little bit more cool toned, and honestly, I get it. I really get it. It's not my favorite color story, but I still totally understand who it is for, and I thought the quality was really beautiful. I really want to play around a little bit more with the neutral corner. I will be saving this because it is fairly new to my collection. This is the Fête de Provence. This is the Provence inspired palette. I like a bunch of these shades quite a lot. This corner here wasn't my absolute favorite, but I really did enjoy a bunch of these shades. And again, reds and pinks. I'm sorry, I'm a broken record, but I love reds and pinks. Who got that? This is the Whistler Snow Lodge. I feel like a lot of people slept on this palette. This was a really good quality palette. Really did enjoy this one. This Ski Bum shade is just stunning. And this Whistler is just this beautiful, like sparkly, shimmery green. That's just so beautiful. Really did enjoy this palette. Again, I love blues. Blue is my favorite eyeshadow color to wear, so I might be a little biased. This is the America's Parks palette, which was really fun to look back at this palette because I did actually visit a couple of these parks this summer, so that was really fun. I went to... I have gone to Blue Ridge Parkway, and I have also gone to the Everglades. We did go to... which one did we go to? I don't even know which one we were at. Should I have known this? Some of these. I really like the color story of this one. I think this one is no longer available, but I really like the color story of this one. I'm gonna hold on to this for a bit longer because I think it's really beautiful. This is their fall inspired palette that came out last year. This is the Hudson Valley. I love the feel of this. It's like, you know, that rich people paper. You know, we all know that's how this one feels, and it is just a really yummy color story. I mean, if you saw my palette in the beginning, we all know that I love colors like this. I think it's really pretty. Really enjoyed this palette. I said really too many times. I like it. Let me Let me keep that one. This is the Nomad Iceland palette. I like this palette too. I don't like this palette as much as some people like this palette. I think it's good, but I think some of the other palettes are better than this one. I also like the packaging of some of the other ones more than this one. I think I might declutter this one. I don't hate it, but I'm not in love with it. So no point in keeping it. Then we have the, this is the holiday palette from last year. As I'm filming this, I have not seen a holiday palette from them, but I'm guessing they're gonna have one. This is the one inspired by Santa's Village in Finland. I did not love this one. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought this was a bad palette. I gave this a bad review. I kept it for a bit, but you know what? I'm gonna declutter it. And this is the Home for Christmas or Home for the Holidays that they had the year before. It's like a rainbow palette of shimmers. These are really good quality, and I kept them a bit because I think they're such good quality. This one that's called Kaiser, I want them to bring back this color in an upcoming palette. It's a beautiful peachy metallic shimmer. It's so beautiful. I think I'm gonna get rid of it because it's an all shimmer palette, but that color, Kaiser, needs to come back. This is the, I think it's called like Paradise. Yeah, Paradise Islands. This is a summer palette from, I think, last year. I think I might get rid of this one as well. I like it, but I don't love it. I'm thinking, this is me thinking. I prefer the Monteverde one. And I think that if I was reaching for colors like this, I think I would do the Parks palette. So yeah, I think I might declutter that one. This one is fairly new as well. This is the Royal Europe palette. This packaging is really nice. It's like 3-dimensional. And this is their more jewel tone palette with some multichromes in here. Yeah, I think you can see the multichrome qualities in the shadows. Really impressive shadows. Leans a little dark for me to be a one and done palette, but again, I can always reach into something else. It's a really good quality palette though. I will definitely be holding on to it. And the last one is the Haunted Europe palette. This I think was a, when was this a Halloween palette? 2 or 3 years ago? I don't think that this is available anymore. Again, I like this palette, but I don't like, some people really like this palette. And I like their other palettes more than this one. So I think this is discontinued, and I think I will declutter mine. Should I be saving this one? No, I have decided. This is what we're doing. Now let's dig out some ColourPop. Okay, so I really love ColourPop. I love a lot of my ColourPop palettes, but I do have a lot of ColourPop. And I have even more over here. There is like some quads and stuff. I just don't need this many ColourPop palettes. So we're gonna try and get this down a little bit because right now in my storage, I have 2 of these filled with ColourPop, and that's unnecessary. We don't need that. This was the Halloween palette of this year, the Welcome Foolish Mortals. I think I'm gonna be saving this one because I definitely can use this as a reference for like Halloween palettes in the future. And I feel the same about the Gather Round Sisters that they released and the other Hocus Pocus palettes that they've also released. I think this one is my favorite, the one that's a little brighter. I do like this one. They also had another, oh, it's right here. I see it. This one, the Witching Hour. So I'm gonna keep these for reference, actually, if I want to do another one of like Halloween palettes last year. So I think I might keep those for that reason. And I also did like the Haunted Mansion one. Not my favorite, but I definitely thought it was good quality. What makes this palette look a little blah is that the background, it's totally the wrong color for this color scheme. I think that they did a mistake making that such a like bold purple, basically. So this is one that I'm gonna get rid of. This is the Lost in Wonderland by ColourPop. I didn't love this color story. I love this shade, Curiouser and Curiouser, but I have shades like that from ColourPop even. I didn't like this color story. I didn't think it 100% made sense. I didn't hate the quality. I didn't love the quality, but I didn't think it was bad. But the color story makes me want to declutter this one. Oh, remember when I said that the Melt Cosmetics, the Cheesing Parties, I had a better version that's more affordable? This is the one. Or kid you not, from ColourPop. Get this one. Thank me later. It's absolutely amazing. I also love this one, the Blue Velvet. This one you can find also at Target. I actually bought this in store at my Target. This is a great blue palette. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. I really love it. People were asking me if I need both the Blue Moon and the Blue Velvet. And no, I'm actually going to declutter my Blue Moon. Not because I necessarily think the Blue Velvet is better. More that this one is very old and I'd like to have like a newer version. I think both of these are really good. But my Blue Moon is old. Like, we're talking old. So I'm going to declutter this one and keep the Blue Velvet instead. Love this one. Love blue eyeshadow. This is one that's really old as well, but I keep using this one. This is the Orange Glad. A palette that I kind of often bring traveling, actually. I think it's a great palette still. I'm gonna actually keep it. I also really love the Mint to Be. I think this, I mean, if I want a mint eyeshadow, I do find really good options here, so I think I'm gonna keep it. High Tide was a palette that a lot of people really loved. Oops, but I actually did not love this one the way that other people did. I thought it was okay. Love the packaging though. I thought it was okay, nothing more. Sage Today had a really fun color story. Not my absolute favorite though. I don't reach for this one a lot, so I think I'm gonna get rid of this one. Did like the Rock On palette actually. For a neutral palette, I do love red undertones, and I really liked how this one like were on the eyes. And if I want a neutral palette, I think that this one is a good alternative. And I also really think the C3PO is one of my favorite neutral palettes in my collection because of how mustardy and yellow and beautiful it is. And I'm a little biased. I do love me some Star Wars, so I'm gonna keep that one. I also still love my The Child palette. I think I like this one more than Sage Today. Like, just color story wise, I do like that the Sage Today had that really light pastel though. Should I just switch them out? Are you allowed to do that? I feel like I'm asking, but like I'm sure I am. Also, I'm not the person that switches shades out though, so I think I won't because I will forget and then people will ask why my palette looks different. So maybe I shouldn't. But I do really like this one. I'm gonna keep it. And also, again, big Star Wars fan. Big Star Wars fan. This is a very similar color story to the Chucky palette by what's its face, Glamlight. I think I prefer the quality of the Chucky palette, but I like the size of this one more. And also, I mean, again, I'm biased, but I do love Star Wars theming more than I like the Chucky theming. I'm gonna keep it because I like Star Wars. Don't come for me, okay? Flirty Talk is one of the unexpected favorites. How many times have I said that I love pink and red? You all know it. I've said it too many times, but I love this color story, and this palette has surprisingly amazing quality. Not that Colourpop doesn't do great quality, but this is really nice. So I'm gonna keep this one. I think this one is great. I've been recommending it a lot. I think it's great. Pretty Please. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I don't hate the look that I did, but I think I would reach for the other one over this one. So I think this is beautiful. I think the quality is great. It's just not a color story that like muted grayish neutrals. It's not what I reach for a lot. This is the Control Alt Glam that they did with Mariale. I actually really like this color story. I thought the palette was really beautiful. Is this still available? You know what? We'll keep it. We'll keep it. I actually really did like it. This is the Troublemaker. This is like the second half of the Chucky palette. Should I keep this one because cool tones are so in right now? And I really like the silver that's in here. You know what? I will keep this one. I think it's a good palette. This one, the Lavish palette, I didn't love the quality of this one, unfortunately. I wanted to love it, but I didn't. So I'm gonna get rid of this one. Here is the Snow White palette. Same here. I don't mind the quality. I don't think this color story is a success. I feel like the wrong colors are mattes, the wrong colors are shimmers, and I also don't think the shimmers are an amazing quality. So I'm actually gonna get rid of this one, even though it is a Disney collab. This is a palette that came and went, and it's a shame because I really like this one. This is the In the Limelight palette. I think the packaging is beautiful. I think everything about this palette is so cool. This is a monochromatic lime palette, and it's so nice. I love this palette. I wish it would come back, of all of the palettes that they keep around, why wouldn't you keep this one around? It's so fun. It's so nice. This Almost Famous, which is a very almost neon lime pastel with a shimmer. It's beautiful. It's amazing. 10 out of 10 recommend. I wish they would bring it back, but I'm not going to get rid of it because I love it. Again, a little bit biased. Do love me some Star Wars, but I actually think that this color story is a huge success. And I like the quality of this one, and I'm going to keep it. Also, it's Star Wars, so don't come for me. I think the Winnie the Pooh highlighters were better quality than the eyeshadow palette. I think the eyeshadow palette was okay. So I'm going to get rid of this one. This one I love. Love this color story. It reminds me a little bit of the idea of this reminds me a little bit of the Glamlight and Frosted Flakes palette. But the Glamlight and Frosted Flakes is oranges and blues. And this is oranges, browns, and turquoises. So they're in the same ballpark, but not like the same. This Soaked is such a beautiful lid, the color and inner corner highlight. I've had so much fun with this palette. We are definitely keeping that one. This one I think I can get rid of. This is the Just My Luck palette. I have so many green palettes in my collection that I would reach for over this one. Plus it is very old, so I think I'm gonna get rid of it. The Off Quartz palette is nice, but this isn't the color story that I reach for. I mean, you heard me say similar things about the Natasha Denona Glam palette, and I like the quality of that one over this one, so I think I'm gonna declutter this one. A lot of people really love the Not a Box of Chocolates palette because it is highly quality. Like, the quality is like incredible. But it's very brown. It is all browns. But if you want just browns and you want to save some money, get the ColourPop one. It's really good quality. The only thing that's missing for me in this palette is that this one isn't bright enough for me to be an inner corner highlight. But the quality is really beautiful. It's just not a color story that I reach for a lot. This is one of the best neutral color stories ColourPop has ever done. This is the Lust for Dusk. Look at that. Look at that moody, dusky, grungy, almost warm tone, but make them grungy. This color story is amazing. I hope this palette is still available. If you're looking for a neutral palette with a twist, this Lust for Dusk definitely is that. I'm gonna keep it. I like it. The Tinkerbell palette, this was really nice quality. I feel like this one comes and goes. I think I'm gonna hold on to it a little bit more. These bright greens here are just really, really nice. Maybe we should do like a Disney palette bingo. Maybe that could be fun because we can include some of these Star Wars as well. I think this is my least favorite Star Wars palette, mainly because these two shadows are very hard pressed in my palette and not that easy to use. But overall, I don't hate the color story. It is a nice twist to a color story. It reminds me a little bit of the Fighter palette by Fantasy Cosmetica with the cool tone neutrals with a pop of mustard. Don't hate the color story, but not my favorite. I just wish that these weren't as hard pressed. But again, it's The Mandalorian. I love Star Wars. I'm a broken record. This, if you're looking for burgundy eyeshadows, these matte reds are better than most high-end brands. I said what I said, don't come for me. This is a great palette. If you see it in stock, definitely recommend it. There's no way I'm getting rid of that one. I just wish that this one and all of these that I'm saving that has the plastic packaging, I just wish that they would make them into this kind of like cardboard packaging. This is Petals on Point. Again, this isn't this isn't the color story I reach for. More gray, cool tone neutrals. This is some baby pinks. I don't reach for that a lot. Let's just put it like that. This is the At For A Sight, the Raw Beauty Christie collab. This is discontinued since long. I'm gonna keep it because I feel like it's a really nice color story. It's a little dark leaning. For me, I need an inner corner highlight, but still, this is a beautiful color story. We're saving this for the memories, guys. And we're also saving the Lush Life palette for the memories. One of the best, if not the best palette ColourPop has ever made. Loved the quality of these shadows. Love the unexpectedness of this color story. Really good palette. Unfortunately not available. I do wish though the Limelight palette came back before this one because I feel like Limelight palette is such a unique color story. This is their Naruto palette. Let me actually bring out the Avatar The Last Airbender. I actually saved the sleeve for this one because I feel the sleeve is so cool. This is a great palette, and they are pretty similar in color story. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the Avatar palette and the Korra palette, let's actually bring out that one too. Let's, Muppets move away. Muppets move, Winx move. Let us get the Korra palette too. I mean, I'm not saying they're dupes, but they've definitely been talking to the same people. And I will say, this is great quality. This is great quality. This is meh. This is meh. So let's get rid of this one. And again, not because I'm biased, because I really do like Avatar The Last Airbender and The Legends of Korra, but these are just the superior palettes of these. And these are very... They work together really well. There are no dupes between these palettes, but there are definitely some similar stories. But again, they're both based on the 4 elements with the 4 different colors. I'm not surprised. These work great together. Now I want to use them again. Doesn't like these look so yummy? And this one, the water bending shade, are you kidding me? I want to use it now. And I saved the sleeve for the Korra one as well because the sleeve is beautiful. This is probably the best like collab palettes that ColourPop has done. I said what I said, even better than some of the Star Wars one. The sleeves are beautiful, the artwork is amazing, the color stories, the quality. They did some really good things with this one. Then we have these Winx ones. Let me actually get some of the ones that I have left. This is the Winx Club Just Like Magic's. I don't love this color story. I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. They're a little chunky, some of these metallics. So let's actually get rid of that one. Let's put these to the side so I don't totally tip this tower over. This is the Holidays with the Muppets. I really like this palette. I had so much fun with this palette. These 2 greens are insane. I want to keep this. I like this palette. There are also 2 more chunky shimmers in here, but I like this one. I'm gonna keep it. Sue me. I thought it was so fun. This is the Smoking Hot palette, one of the bigger ones. This is great quality. It really is. If I wasn't a YouTuber, I would declutter this one, but I'm gonna save it for comparison purposes because I feel like there are reasons why people would be asking for comparisons with this. If you were wondering, the quality is great, but there are definitely some shades that might not have been needed in this palette. And this is the Fade into Hue palette. I think I will get rid of this. I think this is nice, but it doesn't go deep enough for me to be a well-rounded rainbow palette, and it has 4 pressed glitters. I don't hate it. I think the quality is decent, but I have better rainbow palettes, so I'm gonna get rid of it. This is the It's a Mood. This also has, I think, 3 pressed glitters, but overall, I think this has a really good, well-rounded color story for being such a big palette, except, of course, that these 4 peaches, we didn't need all 4 of those peaches, but I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide because I think it's good quality, and I think overall the color story is really good. Then we have the Aurora Struck palette. The packaging of this is beautiful. The color story is really, really nice too. I would have wished for another dark purple matte, or like a dark purple matte, but overall I really like this palette. And again, I'm gonna keep it because I feel like this is one of the most interesting color stories that ColourPop has come out with as of late. This one I'm actually gonna declutter. This is the BT21 Bon Voyage palette. Ooh, I thought that this palette has some interesting colors and some really nice textures, and I love the quality of the mattes. I thought they were really nice and punchy. There's only 1 dark shade though. I would have wished for another one. There's also 3 pressed glitters. Don't love that. So that's the reason why I'm getting rid of it. But overall, I did have fun with this palette. Then I have some quads and some mini palettes. I did save the Hello Hollywood because I did reach for these 2 shades a lot, but now I've actually gotten other shades and other palettes that I can use instead, so I'm actually gonna get rid of it. And also this green palette. This one, I realized I've saved it for this color, but I have a similar color in the one that I was talking about, the lime one. Where are you? This one, in the Limelight. It's just a little lighter, but it gives me the same kind of effect that I was looking for, which is a really light, bright green with some shimmer. So I'm gonna get rid of these two. And I think I might save the quads, because I still love my ColourPop quads. I still use them and I still bring them traveling. I think they are really, really nice. And I've been storing them in this one. And most of these are discontinued. I'm gonna be honest with you, most of these are discontinued, but the ColourPop quads are probably the best quality mattes ColourPop has ever done. The shimmers are really good too, but I'm fully blown away by the mattes in these quads that they've been doing. They are so good. They're exactly the way that I want them. Pigmented, blendable, buildable, just really, really nice, creamy with not too much binders in them. So there's actually some grip so that they just don't blend away. And I've really been enjoying these quads. And I hope they make more quads in the future because they're so nice and I just want to keep them. Because I usually toss at least one of these in my bag when I'm traveling because I just feel like they're so good quality. They're sturdy and they're nice and I really like them. Okay, let me put my ColourPop away and let's see how many palettes I've actually decluttered. I have a feeling it's a bunch. I have a feeling it's quite a few. Okay, so here are all of the palettes that I have decluttered. There is a lot, so I'm gonna stand up by this table and I'm gonna see if I can count these. It's a lot. It's more than I thought, but it makes me happy because I was overwhelmed and I couldn't see my favorites due to all the stuff that wasn't my favorites. So let me stand up and let's get cracking. I think I'm gonna like remove them from the table once I've counted them. And maybe I'll count them in like tens. This is me thinking out loud. Okay, 5. And one lonely palette left, so let me go and count how many piles there are. Okay, so I don't know if that is like the dramatic ending that everybody wanted, but it was the dramatic ending I could give you with the limited space that I had. But 161 palettes. That is the amount of palettes that I have gotten rid of in this year's declutter, and honestly I'm very proud of that because there were some brands that I'm like, I'm not even reviewing this brand anymore. This brand doesn't even exist anymore. These palettes not even available anymore. Nobody on my channel is asking for these palettes. Like, it didn't make sense at all. So I'm happy to be rid of them, especially since we are moving and I want to like not start fresh, because that's not what I'm trying to do. But like, there's no point in bringing stuff that I'm not gonna have use for, and I need to be honest with myself. So that's what I did today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you again real soon in a new video. Bye.